time of the month. My dress is pink. The book is pink. It's time for a Clique roundup. All right, you're the Clique. Book 6, Doll L for Loser. So, at the end of the Pretty Committee Strikes Back, the girls are expelled from school, but Claire's back with her boyfriend. Massey has lip-kissed Darrington and is the top of the food chain with the girls at OCD. What could possibly happen in this book? Dial L for Loser. Let's read the back of the book. Haven't read it yet, so... Goodbye, Westchester. Hello, Hollywood. Massey Block. The Pretty Committee is this close to begging Principal Burns to readmit them to OCD when movie director Rupert Mann invites the girls to audition for his new teen blockbuster. Dial L for Loser. Massey packs her straight-leg velvet sevens, ties her new hair extensions in a high ponytail, and heads off to LA with her friends on the studio's amazing private jet. But when they arrive on set, everyone starts treating Claire like she's the star. Dial W for what the... Kristen Gregory. Parents have grounded her in Westchester while her friends are off glamming it up. But so what? She has the Briarwood boys to keep her company, including certain people's crushes. Alicia Riviera. Doing the morning announcements at OCD was great preparation for her latest gig, being movie set correspondent on The Daily Grind. Dylan Marvel. On a new all-brand diet. Good thing she wasn't invited to LA, since she needs to spend most of her time running to the bathroom. Claire Lyons. Snags a starring role, befriends a hot teen starlet, is invited into a world of extreme fabulousness. She goes to the glitzy parties and gets her picture in lots of magazines and receives dozens of free pairs of kids. She's living the dream. But what happens when Cam catches Claire kissing a Hollywood hottie? I'll tell you what fucking happens. He breaks up with her. Because these... Is it a book? If she's not in tears the entire time, this back spoils most of it. What is even my purpose here? If I'm reading this book and taking hours out of my time to recap it to you, not once, but twice because I gotta write the script. What is even the point? If it can be compounded into Massey delusional bitch, Alicia star on the up and coming, Claire cry, Dylan fart, Kirsten sport. And really, Kirsten sport and Dylan fat are two things that you already knew and did not need to be said because we don't know anything about these poor girls. Yeah, okay. This is so dumb. Okay, so if you are subscribed, which you should be, subscribe down below, you would know that I am also doing a reading sporadically when I have the time in between projects. I've been doing a reading of Secrets of My Hollywood Life, which follows Caitlin Burt's embarking through Hollywood as a teen starlette and her being in on a long-running sit with her not famous boyfriend. With her being in the starring role in Hollywood. And then her being, you know, in a competitive situation on her long-running sit. What happens when your sitcom, when your drama soap opera ends. I have found that it was very similar, but I also found that the plot was very similar to Zoe Dean's Talent, which once I'm done with the Clique books, I don't know. I don't know what's going to come next. I only own one of these, so I might read it relatively soon, but like Zoe Dean's Talent, this one's about modeling. I don't fully remember the plot of this one, but I was obsessed with it, and I'll have to see how much these cost on the Amazon. I don't have the space to have them physically, so I won't be able to. But like, that's what this plot reminded me of. And this book is from what year? But because these are both Little Brown Poppy imprint books, one of the books that, if you like the Clique, you might enjoy, Secrets of My Hollywood Life. And you know, I'm a silly girl. I love that. I love hearing that. I love it. We stand. We can't stand. So, in the acknowledgements, I guess, for this one, it's just like on a, normally the books preceding this have all been thanking her sons and her dogs and her husband and her grandparents. That I might be confusing that with Jen Calanita, but there's a lot of thanking some loved ones in there. This one is to all the girls who have written me asking to star in the Clique movies. This one's for you. Just a genuine, unknown ingenue. I'm gonna be honest, this book, I gave 4 stars on Goodreads. I did. And you know what? I don't feel bad about it. It was cute and fun, and I enjoyed it. I hated it. There was character development for Claire, and I've never hated Massey more, and I feel like that's the good for any cute. I look cute. That's the good in any good Clique book, is character development for Claire as she learns how to be a person, and hating Massey more. Massey doesn't need to develop fully yet. You know, when you're in middle school, you don't need to have your character development all set up. You can just, like, you know, move on. You can go to college in 6 years and be a better person. I'm vaguely becoming concerned with the fact that no one's had a birthday to turn 13 yet. That means that there are a lot of Aries, Tauri, Geminis, Cancers. Massey's a Leo. I do know that Massey is a Leo. But there's a lot of water in that friend group, and that might explain some shit. Yeah. Like, I relearned how to hate the main character of the book, and I feel like that's good. Like, I don't know how children feel about it, but I feel like this book was very clearly being like, you don't want to be the Massey block to your friends, do you? Like, maybe being the Massey block in your own world is fine, but being the Massey block to your friends is terrible. I feel like this moment is coming. The wide set vagina tampon situation, that is coming. I feel like at this point, because it hasn't happened yet, that it might have been a fictitious molding in my own brain. But I feel like Nick DeMario talked about it in his review of the movie, which we are going to watch once we've gone through all the books. Nick DeMario talking about it. I don't know. Oh, my baby hand. But what I do know, if I don't know anything else, As I know that they're going to shame a teenage girl, her being a teenage girl and having the body of a teenage girl. This book is very, very, very special episode-y. It's very iCarly Goes to Hollywood. Very Drake and Josh Goes to Hollywood. Very the entire plot of Big Time Rush. Like, that's the kind of... It gave me Nick summer 2008. 2006, 2008. That's what it gave me. It gave me that ooh-ah sensation, if you will. Oh, that time when it was just like, all right, we got these teenage boys, we got this demographic that we need to appeal to. What are we gonna do? Gonna make them stars. Gonna send them to Hollywood. And we're gonna have them have hijinks ensue with stars. Who got the red hair? Correct. This is a very special episode of a book. And I think I came to that conclusion before I reread that To All the Girls Who Have Written Me. Holy shit. But now I've gotten to it and I feel that very strongly in my soul. I guess So at the end of the last book, the girls have been kicked out of OCD. For Christian sneaking onto the trip entirely. And the other girls for going onto the forbidden trail, that they were so useless in their group activities that they just never learned how to navigate their way literally 30 feet to the left. They literally got lost in a circle for 5 hours. So now we're here, back home in Westchester, New York. You know, just vibing. With no school to go to. So on the first morning, post them getting kicked out, the girls are at the mall. There are certain rules for everyone that they must follow. Like Massey. Okay, actually, move that. To Principal Burns and Mr. Minor, thank you for kicking us out of OCD. Her amber eyes flickered with delight. From this day forward, stores are the new classrooms, salespeople are the new teachers, food courts are the new cafeterias, and visas are the new 7th grade IDs. Everyone has their own rules from their parents on how they can, you know, comport themselves not being at school. Massey, Alicia, and Dylan's parents are pretty chill. Massey's parents want her to justify things as being educational, but outside of that, that's it. Meanwhile, Claire has Lainey collecting homework for her, and then she has to do the homework so that she's not falling behind in 7th grade. And Kirsten is technically not allowed to be out and hanging with them. She's supposed to be studying the meaning of life. Studying philosophy and all that. It had been 6 months since her family moved from Orlando to Westchester. 6 months of living in the Block's estate and 6 months of proving herself to the Pretty Committee. Finally, Claire was an official member with an exclusive standing invitation to sleepovers, shopping trips, and 5-way calls. But no matter how much fun the girls had together, she would wake up the next morning needing to impress them all over again. It was as if their leave-in conditioner seeped into their hair follicles while they slept and clogged their brains, permanently erasing cool Claire from their memories. There had to be something she could do to earn their full-time respect. But what? So Claire's straight up not having a good time at the mall. She can't really shop because she's broke, because her allowance has been suspended because she, she was suspended from school for, sneaking around and kissing boys and all that. And this is not a fun time for her and Christian because Christian's poor and has to study, and Claire is middle class. The two middle class and lower class girls in the group. Kirsten has to carry around her philosophy books, being history of Western philosophy, philosophy made simple, philosophy for dummies, and the Oxford Dictionary of Philosophy. My mom is forcing me to study philosophy until I'm back at school, Kirsten explained. She wants me to figure out the meaning of life so I'll know exactly what I'm throwing away. And then she's like, what else was I supposed to do? Miss the first boy-girl trip? This would not have happened if she had just let her friends pay for her. But outside of that, no trip with boys is worth it. I promise you, no trip with boys is worth it. Her blue eyes began to fill with tears. Her words, not mine. She's probably mad because you lied. Alicia lifted her steaming cup of Sumatra to her glossy, light pink mouth. Kirsten sniffled. What are they supposed to do? Miss out on our first boy-girl field trip because my parents couldn't afford it? Please. You told them you were going away with your soccer team, then hopped a bus to Lake Placid. Alicia pinched off a piece of low-fat blueberry muffin. And while you were there, you got expelled and lost your scholarship. I mean, yeah, she did. Like, fully. Massey tells her she thinks it's brave, but, it's dumb. Dylan's mom can't be mad at her because she blames her mom for hooking up with Mr. Minor at Lake Placid. And Claire, gets punished by having to wake up and simulate her day like she's going to school. She gets up, takes a shower, eats breakfast, then waits for like 15 minutes in the cold of New York in the spring for Isaac to bring the whatchamacallit around, the Land Rover. Claire doesn't have access to her computer anymore. It's been taken away as punishment, and she can't go see camp, so she hasn't seen him since Lake Placid. The meeting, Alicia's dad is going to be representing them at the school board. The meeting to let them back into school is going to be happening on April 2nd. If they don't get back into OCD, Kirsten's going to be homeschooled. Massey doesn't care because she, Dylan, and Alicia's family have all been looking into this prestigious London private school, which would have been fun. And Claire is going to have to go to ADD, which is the private schools in Switzerland. Well, I'll be going to Abner Doubleday. Claire moaned. Ew, Alicia gasped. Public school? Claire nodded slowly. Alicia checked over her shoulder and leaned forward and whispered, ADD is full of juvenile delinquents who steal your lunch, then force you to buy it back for $100. The thought of fighting her way to the top again made Claire shudder twice. They hate private school girls there. They think we're spoiled. What did they know? Dylan pushed back her cuticles with the corner of her American Express gold card. So the girls go off to go shopping. Massey leaves Kirsten with a little bit of money to get herself some more coffee. And they go off to shop designer. But it's like early March. So it's like not even good. It's like pre-resort. It's post-resort pre-spring. So not even the good shit. So Massey the next day got a brand new hairstyle. She got extensions put in. She's excited because she's hoping that she looks exactly like her celebrity muse, Abby Boyd, the glamorous movie star. They're going to Alicia's to pick everyone up to go to the mall again. Claire was supposed to be speaking to Mr. Rivera about what they need to do for getting back into school. Dylan can go to the mall without lying. She just needs to pick up her mom some Lamar. And Kirsten's like, instead of going to the mall where I can't really participate, maybe we could go see a movie, go see a matinee. Dylan doesn't want to go because it smells like old lady pee and vitamins, and it's just like, God, you airhead. Claire offers that they go to OCD, even though they're not allowed to be on campus, because Lane is leading a protest to get us back in, and it'd be cool to watch. Lane. Do we like her? Dylan twirled a red ringlet around her index finger. Well, I do, Claire snapped. What time is it happening? After school. Massey consulted her coach watch. Isaac, can you take us to the corner of Birch and Worth? Okay, so they get around there. They go into the faculty parking lot so that they are not easily seen. She wanted to ask her friends if they missed the eraser smell of the halls, or the rambling, dorky stories their English teacher would tell them about his hairless cats, or text messaging during the study period, or laughing during lunch, or counting the compliments they'd get from LBRs, or going to a soccer game at Briarwood Academy and flirting with their crushes, but she didn't. It was her job as the alpha to keep spirits up. They needed her. There she is. Claire stabbed her finger. Lane was waving a sign made of white poster board that had been taped to a long twig. A grainy blow-up shot of Claire smiling sweetly was taped to the front, and Save the Lions was painted across the back in big maroon letters. 2 Gwen Stefani wannabes with identical signs followed close behind her. You know, if she'd just brush her hair and get a few blonde highlights to offset the moussiness, and stop shopping in the men's department of the Salvation Army, she'd have cute potential, Dylan said. She has nice blue eyes. Small, but nice. They're green, Claire murmured. Save the Lions, shouted Lane and her best friends Mina and Heather as they poked the sky with their signs. Oh my god. This is a protest? I assumed it would be for all of us. Claire's cheeks turned bright red. I'm sorry. Please. I'm glad Lane is not fighting for me. The last thing I need is for people to think we're friends. This whole protest thing is stupid. I feel bad for you, Claire. Huh? I just think it might ruin your chances of getting back in. Massey checked her nails for dirt. The board may think you're causing more trouble. They could see you as a threat. Really? Yeah, but don't worry. We've taught you a lot. I'm sure you'll be fine at ADD. Claire sat back on the frozen ground and hugged her knees to her chest and lowered her head. A circle of at least 30 girls was forming in front of Principal Burns' office windows with bigger, more flashy signs. A circle of at least 30 girls was forming... Hold up. Wait! Christian grabbed Massey's ankle. Look! A circle... God, I'm not going to get this line out properly. A circle of at least 30 girls was forming in front of Principal Burns' office window with bigger, flashier, more fabulous signs than Lane. Take pity on the pretty committee. Take pity on the pretty committee. Take pity on the pretty committee. They chanted. Oh my god. Massey crouched back down. They're wearing purple tulips in their hair. My favorite color! Look, Dylan pointed. That says we want Massey back in classy. I love that. Massey tapped her heart. I see one that says unblock the block, Kirsten chimed in. Adorable. Aren't you afraid you won't get back into school now? Claire smirked. Massey checked her reflection in a hubcap, ignoring Claire's jab. Oh my god, there's one for me. Where? There she pointed to Olivia Ryan, who signed Alicia We Misha doubled as an advertisement for her stupidity. Alicia is spelled wrong. Massey held her palm in front of Dylan's face, ordering her to wait. She was in the middle of counting and didn't want to lose her place. There was 1 sign for Alicia, 3 for Claire, and 18 for her. Not bad, of course. She'd be sure to tell her crush Darrington she had an even 25. This is terrible, Dylan whined. The worst, Kristen declared. Look! By the bike racks. Massey steadied herself on a dust-covered VW. Strawberry, Corey, Alicia's ex-friends from dance class, hopped on their brat's bike and tore across the lawn. They pedaled like Lance Armstrong and rang their rusty bells, shouting, "Out with the old, in with the crew." Who do they think they are? Massey cried. Do they seriously think they can start their own pretty committee? Don't they have to be pretty to do that? Dylan scoffed. Are they really going to call it the crew? Christian winced. Looks like they have some competition, said Claire. 4 petite blondes in matching yellow tennis outfits. Boards are hard. Charged across the lawn, waving flags that said the country club tied to vintage wooden rackets. What makes them think we're not coming back? Massey shouted, forgetting they were on a stakeout. My dad is so suing them. Why isn't Principal Burns breaking this up? Massey scourged. There wasn't a single security guard out there. Doesn't OCD encourage freedom of expression and the right to protest? More than the United States government does, I'll tell you what. Everyone stared. She's right. It's in the handbook. After we got expelled, I read it cover to cover looking for a loophole. Great, Massey said to the tangled charm bracelet around her wrist. The thought of being replaced by the crew or the country club after her lifelong struggle to become the #1 girl made her quake. So what if 18 girls wanted her back? 6 didn't. And if she didn't do something soon, something to remind them how insanely fabulous she was, there would be more. Current State of the Union. Gluing my hair. Hanging at the mall. The crew in the country club. Out. Growing my hair. Hanging in the halls. The pretty committee. So another 2 days later, Massey, Claire, and Kendra, Massey's mom, are in the spa. Claire talks about how nice it is to hang with Massey without the other girls. Because it feels like she's more herself. This lead-in is coming from Massey asking her mom what it's like. How does she do nothing all day? I mean nothing, Massey stomped her foot. How do you do nothing all day? It's so hard. Kendra rolled her thin neck from side to side. Ooh, practice. Massey's back stiffened. Claire, don't go telling everyone I said that. I won't. Claire dunked her head and let out an underwater yes! It was the first time Massey had admitted life without OCD was boring. Claire wasn't the only school-loving freak after all. Massey splashed her when she resurfaced. Why are you smiling? I'm not, she grinned. But the truth was, being alone with Massey filled Claire with pure happiness. The instant the other girls left, it was like the director had yelled, cut, and they could stop acting cool and go back to being themselves. Friends. Well, then the sex pest appears. Todd and Tiny Nathan appear to harass the women, the girls. Kendra is naked in her own goddamn house, as she should be. And Nathan and Todd have no respect for that, and they come to be pests, and Kendra has to cover herself with a towel. Todd is covered in temporary tattoos, as he is trying to get expelled from Briarwood, because he wants to stay home all day with Claire. But it didn't work out, and now the principal wants him to wear all his terrible tattoos to the homecoming, to the St. Patrick's Day dance, which is going to be on the 18th of March. The book starts on, we have a timeline that we actually are following. So the book starts on March 2nd. This is the first book in a while that just clearly takes place over a month. I know we couldn't have done The Pretty Committee Strikes Back in more than a month, because it literally is just the trip to whatchamacallit, but so the girls worry about who's going to dance with others at the dance, since they can't be there. Then they get a call. It's from Dylan, and guess what? They get to go and be backstage guesses at the Daily Grind. They get to go and see their 2 favorite celebrities, Abby Boyd and Hadley. And they're going to be guests on the Daily Grind. Mary Lee has invited the girls to come, and they're like, absolutely, we have to go see it. Because, Abby Lee and Hadley kind of hate each other. They're, best friends, but they also hate each other. They're doing press for the movie Dial L for Loser. They ask their parents for permission. They have to write some papers, some thank you letters, and everything, but they get to go. Abby and Hadley have been in a massive feud for over a year because Hadley thinks Abby hooked up with her boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, the adorable Palmer Drayden. This is the first interview together ever, and we're going. Massey turned to Claire and shrieked. The 2 girls hugged as if hearing the news for the first time. Cam and Claire have been sending each other notes, which they've been referring to as C notes because both their names start with C's, and he starts with notes with C and then ends the notes with C for Claire to Cam and Cam to Claire. Massey wants to go shopping so that they can look nice and spiffy for Monday. Instead, she sprinted back to the guest house and slipped on her borrowed Citizen and gray-ribbed turtleneck and a black and white slip-on Keds. What choice did she have? Without Cam, Lane, or OCD, the pretty committee was all she had. So Monday morning, it's time to go to the interview. No one can find Todd, but they're running out of time. Claire called Todd a loser because he has to go to school while she goes to do the show. He's missing. Oh no! Where's Todd? Well, they don't have enough time. So she says goodbye to her dad and heads off in the SUV to head to the city to do the show. Massey wants to look just like her celebrity idol. She wants to live, she wants to be influenced by Abby. So she plays and listens to Abby's iTunes playlist, but it's filled with head-rocking, ear-shaking, head-throbbing, screaming rock music. And after however many hours, I think it's 3, maybe 2.5 hours of this, everyone has screaming headaches. Massey wants to be rated. They do an outfit recap, and Massey's outfit is kind of insane. Oh no, this outfit is actually not insane, but I do, as a dumb yeehaw bitch, I want a cowboy hat so bad. Oh my god. Just like, think of this while I talk of Dylan's Illuminati hands. While I talk of Dylan's outfit. It's so cute. Did I read it aloud? Dylan was rodeo cute in gold cowboy boots, a pink corduroy mini, a western shirt. I love her little yeehaw outfit. So cute. Dylan's new crash diet is bran, as stated on the back of the book. And it means that she can't hold any poop. So as soon as the girls make it to the lot, she throws herself out the car and goes running. Massey wants Claire to take photos of them with her camera for the new and improved Pretty Committee blog. Claire does not get to be in any of the photos. Massey is fully running a misinformation campaign, but who cares? She's the main character. Whew. So they get into the studio, and it's time. They go up to the secretary's desk, and, Massey tries to confidence and, bully her way in, but it doesn't work because Massey is not the biggest fish in the pond here. She is simply there are two things happening in these books. It's either adults humoring Massey, because, they see that she's just like a little person just running her mouth, or it's other children, and they see her as an actual point of authority and fear and threat. That's not here in New York. Every time she goes somewhere where there are actual adults, she flops flat on her face and is just like, you were reminded that she is a little girl. I don't think there has been a better moment than in the last chapter of this book, when she's Claire's watching her dance with the boys, the Briarwood boys, and how she's just dancing near them, and they're just dancing near each other, and she's just in Massey's head, she's I'm playing hard to get, I'm being the sexiest fox God ever made, and to Claire's knowledge, she's just period. So she goes up there. She can't get people to pay attention to her until a couple of minutes later, and they let her back there. She is not immediately placated, so she is insulted. They are told not to take photos and to be respectful of the back, which, Claire is smart and turns off her flash so that, she can continue to take photos without everyone being fully aware that she's there. So they get into the backstage room, and an electronic remix of Pink's Stupid Girl raged at top volume from a pair of Visa-thin speakers, rousing a skinny fur vest wearing bleach blonde guy to leap onto the L-shaped couch and gyrate to the beat. Two brunettes in identical True Religion jeans cast their coffee cups aside and danced at his feet. An assortment of pillars involtive? I don't know what type of candle that is. Put that on the screen, Megan. VOTIVE candles were on every available surface, casting long shadows on the walls as several agents, managers, and assistants paced back and forth, shouting into their cell phones. An elaborate assortment of baked goods, fresh fruit, and watermelon-flavored Jolly Ranchers dominated the glass round table near the uniformed bartender who was doling out fresh smoothies and cappuccinos. What was supposed to be a holding area for guests of a New York what was supposed to be a holding area for guests of the show looked more like a trendy New York nightclub. Pop star realness. Claire, unlike Massey, Claire does not act like she's been anywhere before, but she's at least respectful. Claire is immediately thrown off because she sees a massage train, and you'll never guess who's also here in New York. It's a massage train. Kirsten fixed her narrow aqua eyes on the spectacle. And look who's riding it. Massey didn't know whether to laugh or call the authorities. Hadley Dirk was the caboose, needing a younger boy's shoulders, and that boy, who was in the middle, was karate chopping Abby Boyd's neck. You were so dead. Funny. I don't feel dead. That's going up there with that's pretty good for a dead bitch. Oh my god. The boy turned his head and winked at Hadley. It was Todd Lyons. How much do you love this guy? Hadley twirled her signature Pocahontas braids and chuckled. Her brown almond-shaped eyes and her flawless skin glowed, and she looked airbrushed. Oh my god, you're even prettier in real life, Kirsten blurted out. How did you get here? Claire demanded, completely oblivious to the actress. I was hiding in the back of the Range Rover. When Isaac went to the bathroom, I hopped out and snuck into the side door with Polar Spring Delivery Dude. How funny is that? Abby slapped her knee. The gold bangles on her left arm backed up with a clang. She was wearing a yellow chiffon dress over straight-legged black velvet pants. A fedora shaded her hazel eyes. A fedora? In this economy? In this economy? They meet the actresses, and Todd, is being himself. Massey lies about being a model and a star in her own right, which is like, wouldn't you people notice if you're not in their normal circle? But whatever. Hadley stood and hugs Todd goodbye. She's wearing this denim micro mini skirt, mini gray knee highs, and a tight t-shirt that spells out Jador Gabor in silver studs. Gabor is her boyfriend, who is like a Shaun White stand-in, I guess. I don't know this reference. There's some other things that he's like a skateboarder, so there's some other things that point to it, but whatever. Hadley thinks that Claire's kids are super cute because we are entering the indie sleaze era. We are getting it down to the down and dirty of it all. Like, the kids and the Taylor Swift prep moment is literally 6 years away. Like, don't fear it, kids. Embrace it. The stars are generally very nice to the girls because, they're not stupid. They've got good media training. So Hadley, Massey stepped in front of Claire. Is it true? Is what true? Hadley lifted a plate of chocolate-covered strawberries off the glass coffee table by the couch. You and Gabor. Massey pointed to her t-shirt. Abby giggle snorted. What? Hadley asked obviously confused. Nothing, Abby said as she pulled a large red stone off of her cocktail ring. She dipped her pinky inside and lifted a glob of sparkle-infused gloss, which she dabbed on her full lips. Gabor and I have been in love since Christmas. Hadley popped a strawberry into her mouth. While Massey was nodding, pretending to follow the story, she pinched Claire's wrist and murmured, "Pitcher," from the side of her mouth. Claire snapped the quick shot. Kirsten and Alicia rushed to either side of Hadley, hoping to be in the next one, but Massey growled and they backed away. "Next weekend we're going to the Swiss Alps so he can show me the resort that put his picture on the lift tickets." "You're so lucky," Kirsten chimed in. "I would love to date a pro snowboarder. They have the most amazing clothing. Come on, Drip." So Massey's standing there, minding her own business, getting right with God, when one of her extensions falls right out of her head. Everyone knew about Abby Boyd's vocabulary, otherwise known as the A, BBYs, C's. And she had been making up her own amazing words in magazine interviews and on talk shows for as long as Massey could remember. "It looks like a ferret." Hadley sounded amused. Abby snapped her fingers in agreement. Alicia, Claire, and Kirsten burst out laughing. They knew exactly what that revulsive thing on the floor was. I think you dropped your weave." Abby pinched the long brown extension and laid it on Massey's shoulder. "Thanks." Massey rolled her eyes, trying to quell the tornado of humiliation. Tornation! What in tornation? The tornado of humiliation that was swirling inside of her. Why this? Why now? This was supposed to be an oh my god moment, the moment when Abby Boyd found her future BFF, Massey Block. Not her hair. My stylist is so fired. She dropped the extension in her Gucci and turned away to hide her burning cheeks. "I hear ya." Abby's smile was sympathetic. "I had those stupid extensions for a while. Then it hit me." She snapped once. Oh my god. Long brown hair is so common stream, so I axed it. She took off her fedora and tousled her new short blonde Sienna Miller 2006 cut. It was the exact opposite of her dark rib-dusting do she sported in Us Weekly. "Oh my god," Massey heard herself say. "When?" "The same day that Massey got her extensions put in." Kirsten is finally proud because of her boy cut, because it's short and spiky and French feminine. Totally. You know. I did the same thing. Kirsten pulled off her Poochie headscarf and flaunted her boy cut. Oh my god, Massey wanted to scream. Kirsten hated her hair. "Don't you feel so much more sophisticated?" Abby lifted her wrist to her mouth and bit into the pastel-colored candy bracelet. Damn it, we're already starting this shit now. We're not even... We are literally 1/4 of the way through. I'm gonna need you to hold it down. Totally, Kirsten fluffed her uneven layers. "Ever since I got this cut, people think I'm 15. And a guy." Massey couldn't help herself. Alicia and Hadley burst out laughing. Kirsten's cheeks turned bright red. Dylan finally arrives after almost shitting herself. Reappears after poop, and she's just like, "You know what? Everyone's mean to her, and it just reminds me how much I hate people who are mean to their friends in front of company." You might call your friend a dumb cunt in the car afterwards, but you do not call her a dumb cunt in front of company. You stand with your friend. You stand. It's like not very girl boss, gatekeep, gaslight girl boss. It's not very pussy stunt of you. So Dylan comes back. Dylan makes a poop joke. Massey's unamused. But she plays along because Hadley and Abby think it's funny. So it's about time for the show to get started. And the girls need to get... Everyone gets mixed. Hadley and Abby get mic'd up. Dylan realizes she leaves her Birkin, her Balenciaga actually, not her Birkin, in the bathroom and panics. She has to leave. Claire doesn't want to go, but Massey's like, "We're going. Our friends need us." Very girl boss, gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss. So they all leave. There's some more weird talk about Alicia's breasts. And they hustle off to the bathroom. Dylan is just like, oh my god, I have some tea to spill. Which is like the first rule of spilling tea is never spill it in a public place where you can't confirm where everyone is. But whatever, they're gonna do it. I have some news that's worth at least 1,000 gossip points. Shut up. Alicia snapped her arm. Slapped her arm. I got only 500 for Laura Davis' piece or bet, and there's no way yours can beat that. Bet. Massey swatted her hand away. Okay, I will decide when I hear it. Okay, so after I grew a tail, I went to say hi to Sheena, my mom's stylist. Dylan started whispering, but quickly returned to her regular tone, and she told me that Abby was on her sidekick like the entire time while she was getting her hair done. Massey faked yawn. Boring. Actually, I want to cut that. So after hair done. Stop laughing. Dylan punched her Balenciaga. That obviously wasn't the best part. Hurry up then. Show was live in like 3 minutes. Dylan took a deep breath and then continued. So Sheena saw that Abby got an email from her friend Sookie, who asked if she hooked up with Gabor after their last date night. Wait, isn't Gabor Hadley's boyfriend? Claire asked. Exactly. Dylan gave her a playful shove, accidentally knocking Claire into the tampon dispenser. Oh my god, what did Abby say? Alicia flapped her hands like a cuckoo bird in flight. Did she hook up with Gabor? Abby wrote back, of course we hooked up. Like we always do. Everyone's mouth hung open, but no one said a word. Turns out Abby and Gabor have been hooking up behind Hadley's back for weeks. Oh my god. First Palmer, now Gabor? Abby is pathological. Kirsten sounded disgusted. Claire wondered if anyone knew what pathological meant, but everyone nodded in agreement, so she did too. You totally earned your gossip points. Massey whipped out her Palm Pilot and added 1,000 to Dylan's score. So, all personnel to the floor includes Mary Lee's co-host, who's already mic'd up, mic on. Everyone can hear it. Backstage in the area, everyone can hear it. So now it's time for the daily grind. And woof, Kirsten's smile faded. They followed her gaze to the water cooler on the side of the set and saw Hadley jumping up and down on Abby's gray fedora. Massey twirled her long ponytail. Serves Abby right for cutting her hair. That hat belonged to my grandfather, Abby shouted. Give it. She tugged one of Hadley's braids. Back! She tugged the other. Well, Gabor was my boyfriend. Hadley kicked Abby in the shin. She grabbed her leg. You can have him. He kisses like a snapping turtle. And now for everyone's favorite boss, Mary Lee Marvel. Dylan's mom bounced onto the set from the far side of the stage. Her red wavy hair bounced with every step she took. She blew kisses to her fans, completely unaware of her feuding guest. Once she was seated in her leopard print chair, I'm telling you, it's Wendy Williams meets The Today Show. Mary Lee held her yellow mug in front of her lips and waited for the audience to quiet down. How could you... Fuck. How could you do this to me again? Hadley smacked the top of the water cooler. Her cheeks streaked with mascara. Stop being dramatic. Abby popped open her blue ring and checked her reflection in the tiny mirror inside. Anyway, I'm just gonna have to have a cough drop in my mouth after this next section of readings. We are all going to have to deal with it. It is a whole different time period now. Stop being so dramatic. How could you do this to me again? Hadley smacked the top of the water cooler, her cheeks streaked with mascara. Stop being dramatic. Abby popped open her blue ring. Okay, I did read that section. Anyway, you can't prove anything. You can't prove anything. Yes, I can. I heard those girls talking about it in the bathroom. Everyone in the whole studio heard the news, thanks to Calgary's microphone. I must have missed that. Abby smirked. While I was in the photo booth having text sex with your boyfriend. Tech sex. Leet speak from the mid-2000s, everyone. Tech sex. Harley charged headfirst into her stomach. Oof! Abby grabbed her abs and gasped for air. Marilee, is just trying to get her show going like normal. It is not going well. As Abby and Hadley physically fight just off stage, Hadley says that she's no longer doing the project with Abby and the director, a British man, Rupert Mann. Kay raced to the set with Hadley's red studded shirt. Seconds later, the stars were surrounded by a massive hysterical producers. "This can't be happening," declared a male with an adorable British accent. Massey turned around and locked eyes with Rupert Mann, the director of Dial L for Losers, whom she immediately recognized as number 3 on People's Magazine's 10 Hottest Bachelors in Hollywood. He ran a hand through his ink-black hair, pushing his too long on-purpose bangs out of his Colbert eyes. Cobalt. Rupert reached into the front pocket of his diesels and answered the phone. "Of course I saw it, you twit," he spit. "The entire flippin' country saw it." Lacey writes his character and all the British characters with this unnecessary accent. It's kind of amazing. Commit to the bit, honestly. "Hold on, I got another call. Hello? Yes, I saw it. I know we start shooting in a week. Don't you think I know that? Hold on, I've got another call. Hello?" They all go over there. Rupert yeets his phone to the ground. He then steals Massey's phone and goes off to do whatever he's doing. So the girls have now, everyone's just like, "Oh my god, I can't believe we got to meet Hadley and Abby. Oh my god." So the girls have been out of school for 2 weeks. Someone has been sending flowers to the girls as a, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry you've been out of school, besties." Massey and Claire are plugging in Claire's camera into Massey's computer to download the photos from the Daily Grind. We got a little more in-depth about the newsletter page. Page 71, the Pretty Committee newsletter. "Hey! Thanks 10 times for the adorable gifts. We heart them all, especially the you-know-what from you-know-who. Everyone's been calling and email asking what we've been up to, so here's a summary of our week. Monday, hung out with Abby Boyd and Hadley Dirk and Rupert Mann, who borrowed my phone and never gave it back, on the set of the Daily Grind. Best time. See pictures below. The fight was insane. You absolutely have to read about it by now. OMG. Tuesday, spent most of the day with Hadley. She was so upset about Gabor. Sorry, I pinky swore that I wouldn't say more than that. Wednesday, shopped in NYC with Abby, Alicia, Kirsten, Dylan, and Claire. Mostly Fifth Ave. Did you know that Abby brings her iPod to stores so that they can play her favorite songs while she shops? I'll ask her if I can forward the playlist. It was awesome. We were dancing all day. Thursday, spa day at home with the girls. Friday, lunch with the girls at Dad's golf club, then snack shopping for Friday night's sleepover. The girls are here now and everyone says hi. How is school? Any tests? Have fun. We know we will. Have fun. We know we will. Love, your Pretty Committee. Massey in bold font. Dylan, teeny tiny Claire. Kirsten, all caps, and Alicia, normal font. Photos by Claire Lyons. Claire's still a little upset that she hasn't been given any credit and that she's not in any of the photos because she's taken the photos. Like, how is anyone supposed to know she was there and that she's actually friends with them? Massey, fully in her lying era, is just like, yeah, we were totally hanging out with those celebrities. No one ever calls her out for lying. Like, this is never an issue. Kirsten feels bad for Hadley for having her boyfriend stolen. Massey holds absolutely no feelings about that. While sitting up at the computer, Darrington texts her and does an Apple iChat. which is essentially proto-FaceTiming each other. The three girls with boyfriend/love interests, and their adjacent love interest boys show up. Claire, Alicia, and Massey sit around the computer while they get the flowers in place and make sure the background is suitable. Make it look romantic back there. Once the area behind Massey was suitably packed with baskets, balloons, and flowers, Massey adjusted the webcam on top of her monitor, then clicked accept. Dylan, Cam, and Josh were leaning against a red couch in Darrington's basement. The TV was on mute behind them. Nice newsletter block. Darrington twisted on the cuffs of his navy skate shorts. Josh and Cam were on either side of him, staring at their feet. Thanks. Massey scanned his outfit. Yes, he was wearing the rhinestone M brooch she had given him last month. It was pinned to the sleeve of his light blue t-shirt, right above the chocolate stain. Claire is just lapping up the fact that she gets to talk to Cam all up and down until they see Rupert Mann in the background of one of the whatchamacallits. So they see Rupert Mann in the background of the TV in the background on the boys. They go to it and they see, I love American cinema, John. Don't get me wrong. Rupert crossed his legs and rested his hand on his denim-clad kneecap. His blue Lacoste peak polo matched his eyes, a little too well for the pairing to have been an accident. Yet the cameraman seemed more interested in the pack of big red gum he was flipping between his fingers. It's just that the actor in your country are such divas. I don't think I have the right accent, but what are we gonna do? Stop me? I find them very unpleasant to work with. Have you cast anyone to replace Hadley Dirk? Joni pulled off her cat-eye glasses and leaned forward onto her stool. I heard rumors that Tara DeWine. She quickly put the glasses back on as they doubled as a hearing aid. Right, well, he tapped his thigh with the big red. Tara would be fabulous if we had another 20 mils in my budget, but we don't, I'm afraid. So I'm going to try something utterly revolutionary. I'm so sorry, I don't do accents. Don't tell me. Computer-generated actress? Hardly. Rupert chuckled politely, then turned the camera. He held Massey's cell phone in front of the lens. Oh my god, the girl screamed. I want to meet the girl who owns this celly, he announced. I want you and those little friends of yours to audition for Hadley's role. No more divas. I want a real down-to-earth girl this time. The girls are screaming. Rupert goes off TV, and the girls start hearing Alicia's phone go off. It's a man with a British accent talking about, hey, he wants to speak to Massey about the role. Massey somehow, let me read this, because I want to be inside Massey's head, that she's just so busy trying not to seem like a wannabe that she would pass up an opportunity of a lifetime. Can everyone please calm down? Massey got off the bed and paced. She needed to think about this. The last thing she wanted was for a famous director to think she was a desperate wannabe. At the same time, she didn't want him to think that she wasn't interested. Girl, it's better to seem like a wannabe than to pass up an opportunity of a lifetime. Get it together. Oh, he calls Alicia. Alicia thinks that it's Josh playing a prank on her because dumb. So she hangs up. He calls Claire on her boo-boo phone because it's so poorly that she's like, I'll call you back on the house phone. And he's going down the list of, whatchamacallits, of names in the phone trying to get to Massey. Calls Claire. Claire is like, hey, I need you to, I need to switch to a different phone. Immediately they're like, oh my god, it's actually Rupert. He wants them to come out to Hollywood on a private jet to do auditions. And then it's a 3-week shoot for the movie Dial L for Loser, taking Hadley's spot. After reading My Secrets of My Hollywood Life, you should check out my videos on them. this would be great publicity. This would be like an amazing idea to just have like, would it work? No. Honestly, you could just lie. You get a Nepo baby that's like, whose mom wanted them to live like a quiet life. Have them pretend to be the nobody when they've actually been training for this their entire life. First, so Massey talks to Rupert. She doesn't want to explain how they got expelled, but I guess it comes out anyway. You'll see. And she's like, oh yeah, we totally could have the time off to come do this. Totally. This was the best impulse spy I've ever had. I really do love having them everywhere. I keep them in my purse. I keep them... I don't have any lip gloss. Everyone is excited to go, except for Dylan, who isn't allowed to go because she's a big mouth and she's the reason why Hadley quit in the first place. So she cannot come. So we have another situation in which we've gotten rid of Dylan. I'm telling you, she's so superfluous. In these, she has not been relevant. Dylan or Christian. I'm waiting for my Dylan or Christian book. I'm waiting for them to have some relevancy to the plot. The last time they were even relevant was the invasion of the Boy Snatchers because they were Nina's little drones, but Dylan was also sick the entire time. So it's like at least in Best Friends for Never, they were included in the plot because they had to be stolen away from Alicia. And in Revenge of the Wannabe, like, what was the point of them being there? I miss Alicia. I miss Olivia. I do miss Olivia. Dylan boohoo cries. Everyone else cheers. And Massey's always looking out for number one, so she's excited that she's going to be a movie star. And then everyone gets all sad because they realize only one person is going to get the part. So Claire and Massey are trying to figure out how they're going to ask their parents for permission. Massey decides that buttering them up is the best course of action. So they go off to the lemonade stand. They go off and they make lemonade for their parents as they play tennis. Problem is that Todd is already there being ball boy to butter them up after getting grounded for sneaking onto the trip to New York. Claire decides that going the extra mile by being a kiss ass and being like, does anyone else want does anyone want any sandwiches? So Claire makes all the sandwiches. Massey tries to steal the light, but it really doesn't come to anything because immediately Kendra's just like, oh yeah, we're going to Hollywood. Rupert called us and we're going. We've already gotten permission and we're flying to LA first thing in the morning on Monday on the studio's private jet. Todd is really excited because he's like, oh my god, I get to go on a private jet. And his father is immediately like, no, you're grounded. You can go in 2 years when you're not grounded anymore. I think it's actually 4 years because I think this book came out in 2008 or 2006. So, period poo. Rupert agrees to help the girls out, so whatever. But, well, they'll be doing the work and they'll have the role. They'll also have a tutor so that they don't fall behind in school. Whoever's the runner-up will also get a different tutor. So they'll still be getting a school education. And that way, they didn't specify that earlier, but it is true. That way they won't have to repeat 7th grade for the second half. Important because Claire was worried if she got kicked out of OCD, then she'd have to go to ADD. Claire is more worried about if she gets the role how she won't see Cam for 3 more weeks. But that doesn't make sense because you weren't going to see him anyway because you're grounded. So the idea that you're like, oh, but I won't get to see my boyfriend for 3 weeks. Whoop-dee-doo. Claire is worried Cam is going to find someone else because she's always worried Cam is going to find someone else for some reason. She believes that boy isn't fully crazy about her. It is crazy about her as she is for him. This is stupid. Massey assures her that she doesn't have anything to worry about because she's not going to get the part. So it's the Sunday before, and Claire is nervous about everything. But no matter how repulsive her nails were, she couldn't stop picking. She'd think about Cam meeting another girl and pick. She'd imagine auditioning for Rupert and pick. and she'd remember she's competing against Massey for the role and pick. Or fear of going to ADD, pick. Where she'd be forced to buy back her stolen lunch for $100, or pick. Or her parents go to bed and she gets to chat with Cam. They go back and forth about, oh, miss you, Pookie, bullshit. But it ends with, we can't do this. We truly cannot do this. With Cam being like, I love you, miss you, I'll take tons of pictures and call you every day. Promise. Never make that promise. That's a promise that you should never make when you're about to go do Hollywood. I'll call you every day. You were asking for someone to be like, you said you'd call me every day and you didn't. Don't set yourself up for failure. I will call you as often as I can. Fall in love with any movie stars. Don't fall in love with anyone. Too late. Claire opened her mouth and silence screamed, or silently as someone whose boyfriend just said, I love you, possibly could. End of chapter. It's like, go off, girl, pussy queen, stunt queen girl, but you were literally not even old enough to babysit other people's kids yet. This love is not forever. It is simply for now. You know, the biggest thing a boy can say is I love you, but like, worry about being treated with respect. Don't worry so much about being told empty words. Be worried about how he treats you, girl. So it's Monday. It's time. And Claire. So everyone that's going is Massey, Alicia, Claire, Judy, Kendra. Dylan isn't allowed to come, and Kirsten obviously isn't coming because, duh, that would be insane. There's no plot workaround, especially after this last book where her mom is letting her come to LA. It's just like not gonna happen. They get to fly a private jet. They have this moment. It's kind of, they're very disrespectful. It's a little crazy. Mrs. Gregory, Kirsten would have loved this. Alicia ran her fingers along the textured gold wallpaper. Every time she came to a window, she pinched the velvet curtains, then rubbed them between her fingers, as though she suspected they might be polyester in disguise. But they weren't. I can't believe she wasn't allowed to come. Miss Gregory can be such a female dog, Massey said. What looked like an original Matisse, one of the many colorful paintings in the cabin. I bet she's upset no one asked her to be in a movie, Alicia said. If they did, it would be called Doll J for jealous. Nice. Alicia high-fived her. Massey, that's not fair. Kendra pulled the plastic off of her complimentary beige cashmere slippers and slid them onto her manicured feet. She has every reason to punish Kirsten, and we have every reason to think she's a female dog, Massey thought, but all she said was, you're right, I'm sorry. She had to keep up the good girl act, at least until the auditions were over, just in case her mother decided to get all Gregory on her. They have bidets on the plane. They called Dylan to say they're going to call every night. Never make that promise. And then they send Kirsten and Dylan out to make sure that they're keeping an eye on the boys. And we get to do my favorite thing, which is dressage. One thing about me is I'm a magpie who loves stuff. I love labels. I don't even love owning them. I love learning about them. I love thinking about them. I love fashion and concept. I love the imagination part of fashion. The girls grabbed 3 seats in the back as far away from their mothers as possible. While the plane taxied, they unzipped their complimentary Coach makeup bags and sampled the different moisturizers and lip balms inside. Claire wore the pink satin eye mask as a bracelet, and Claire spritzed her cheek with peppermint-scented face spray. Hollywood rules! Massey sighed dreamily as she wrapped a navy cashmere blanket around her shoulders and fluffed her down pillow. The Jerding 7 began rolling down the runway, slow at first, then faster. The nose lifted, and within seconds they were flying over New York City, heading straight for the stars. So we land in Hollywood. The bellboy picks up their stuff, and Claire is the only one with a duffel bag. Meanwhile, Alicia and Massey have trundles and trundles worth of stuff. Awesome. Claire ran her fingers along the sleek computer that sat on the mirrored desk by the balcony. She slid open one of the drawers, expecting to find a Bible. Instead, she came across a special edition Mont Blanc pen made with Brocart crystals and several notebooks with mirrored covers. The busboy shows them around the fancy hotel room. Everything is wireless. So this is back in 2008. We pride ourselves on being completely wireless. He tapped the mirrored console below the 50-inch flat screen TV. Stacks of current fashion magazines and newspapers were fanned across the top. Below was a DVD player, a CD player, and an iPod dock. To the right by the window was a cabinet with a keyhole, which Claire assumed was the minibar, plus a popcorn maker and a Starbucks espresso machine, and not a single wire in the shop. In sight. You can control the entire suite with this. Avery R. held up an egg-shaped remote, dotted with flat backlit buttons that said things like TV, air conditioning, windows, shade, coffee maker, popcorn popper, bubble bath. If you want something done, press the button. Handed it to Claire. Massey just wants him out of the room because Massey's just kind of a bitch and mean. So, he just leaves. Massey goes to change. While reading in her bag, she finds that Todd didn't properly clean out his hockey duffel bag. So there's just a pair of Harry Potter boots. Or maybe Harry Potter tidy whities. We don't fully know. In her bag. This will come up later. She grabs her Levi cutoffs, pink Gap tee, and just some normal Keds. She gets in front of the mirror and she's like, oh, I must have gotten taller, but it's just a funhouse mirror. Massey is a dick about it, as always. Massey is wearing these. Claire snickered. It didn't surprise her that Massey had brought the same. I did not pick the page. So when we get to Massey's outfit, Claire snickered. It didn't surprise her that Massey had brought the same super straight velvet pants Abby had worn on the daily grind, but she was shocked she had chosen to debut them in 76-degree weather. So she is wearing, the indie sleaze, uniform. She's wearing cigarette pants, velvet cigarette pants in LA in the heat. You're playing with fire, babes. Lacey does this thing in these books that, particularly with music, that bothers me, where she refers to, and I don't know how long it took her to write these books, but she references songs by artists that at the time that the book was still being written, the songs and artists would have still been relevant and not as like vintage acts, like current. And she'll be like, the old Kanye song, the old Britney song. This first book came out in 2004. So, like, the album Britney would have been what was out. And then this one came out in 2006. She's talking about an old Kanye song, Bestie. That song would have just come out. And I would know because I'm listening to Kanye West albums. He had an album out in 2004. He had an album out in 2005. Not the old Kanye album. Not the old Kanye song. Those simply do not exist in the popular consciousness, especially for white youths in 2006. It's just something that annoys me. She does it several times during these books, where it's like, I guess, covering yourself in case this artist is no longer relevant at the time of reading. But she managed to pick artists that are all, like, embedded in pop culture to the point that here I am, 18 years later, still being like, yeah, the new Kanye album. You hear about Britney, and it still be fully relevant. She does like I think the only one that's like the old Christina Aguilera song, which is like, sure, but it's Christina Aguilera, cultural icon. Maybe I'm just a little too gay to know what's an actual cultural icon and what's just a queer icon. I don't know. Alicia picked up the egg off the duvet and pressed the radio. An old Kanye West song blasted through the speakers. Claire danced her way into the bathroom, finally able to pee now that Alicia was gone. Red petals that had once dusted the floor were now wet and stuck to the marble thanks to Alicia's wet, watery footprints. The deep tub gurgled as bubbles drained out, and the doors of the shower were covered in steam. Above the two clear sinks was a long mirrored cabinet. Claire slid it open and was overwhelmed by the heady aroma of plant extracts. The top shelf was filled with Bumble and Bumble hair products, the second with lotions and creams from Clarence, Kiehl's, and Philosophy, and the third was a miniature perfume sample in tiny bottles of Essen's nail polish. The fourth wall was Aveda soaps and oils. Claire grabs a bar of soap that she keeps in her back pocket. This doesn't really come up again. I noted it, but I don't remember it ever coming up again. So Claire, is up to size up her competition, her friend. She's really feeling quite inadequate. Next to the girls, Massey and Alicia felt like a slut. Next to the girls, next to Massey and Alicia, Claire felt like a sloppy first grader, more Sesame Street than sexy. Cam was the only one who liked her super short bangs, and it had been days since she had seen him. Honestly, hopefully by the time they're done filming. When they're done filming, her bangs should be grown out. Like, look at the no one's looking at the positives. I'm sorry. I know kids are like, right now is the worst thing that's ever happened to me, and it will always be the worst thing that happens to me, and it will continue to be the worst thing that happens to me. But like, get it together. Like, your bangs should grow out. Spoiler, I don't feel like your bangs will be short anymore. They go to the lobby and they meet up with Emma. We meet Emma, who's very familiar to Claire. We meet Emma, who is one of... I keep waiting for this lipstick to be really dry, and it's not. Who is the assistant to Rupert. She's very familiar to Claire, even though she was sweet baby Jesus. Even though she was from England, Emma reminded Claire of the students at University of Central Florida. She had a straight blonde hair and wispy bangs. Her hazel eyes were lined with blue coal, and her lipstick was pink. Her B cups weren't enhanced. Her nose had a small bump, and her handbag didn't resemble luggage. Claire liked her immediately. Claire wonders why she should even be auditioning when Massey so clearly is a professional who knows what to do and how to act and feels like, she's been there before, ready to do professional stuff. Emma suggests that the moms stay back at the hotel so the girls can focus. That's skeevy. Kendra takes Judy shopping on her dad drives. They're off to the studio, they ride in a limo, and Claire is introduced to Red Vines, the West Coast answer to Twizzlers. I've never had Red Vines. I want to try them. I'm so excited about them. But I love licorice candies. They're so good to me. They are peak candy for me. They're just so easy, and they're chewy, and I love licorice. I'm a gremlin. They listen to Christina Aguilera and the club version of Beautiful. And as they go past the palm trees, all Claire can think about is Florida. Alicia sends Dylan photos of all the stuff in the hotel rooms, and Dylan calls them crying because she's like, they're trying to make them jealous, but it's like, God damn it, everyone's so whiny. They're so whiny. The girls, Kirsten and Dylan, are sneaking into soccer practice in disguise, which honestly, I wish they would have shown us some of this. I know most of the plot is about Claire, Massey, and Alicia, but a girl can wish, and I want to see Tweedledee and Tweedledum trying to sneak in. Like, it's literally the brains of the operation and the brawn of the operation doing things, when none of them are particularly good at sneaking. I want to see them just like they have some semblance of a social life or plot outside of the big three. Just like that, it's back to Massey and Claire. So as the girls go into the studio, Claire is continuing to feel more and more self-conscious. Just before she goes in, she gets a call from... She's hoping that it's Cam, but it's actually Lainey. Lainey is waiting tell her that she's waiting for her on the other side and that she can't wait to hear about everything. There with Mina and Heather, who are rooting for her back home. Claire gives her some advice. Now remember one thing. When you're auditioning, don't think about the character. Become the character. So the girls get an hour to memorize their scripts. They are going out for the role of Molly Reynolds, an awkward but cunning 13-year-old loser who hires someone to teach her how to be popular. They go into they go into the set for the school, and it's like a real school from top to bottom. Think Degrassi High on Degrassi Street in Canada. So while they're getting ready, something magical happens. Something that is engineered specifically just to make me smile. And it was so good, I had to call my friends about it. And there was just so much to pick apart in these lines that we just lose our mind over it. It was magical. Claire went straight to the water cooler. Oh my God, Massey whispers, screeched. Look. Oh my God. Alicia echoed. Claire almost spit up Polar Spring. Right outside the pantry, with an unlit cigarette dangling from his 15-year-old lips, was the teen dream. Renowned Hugo Boss underwear model Connor Foley typing a text message into his sidekick. He had black spiked hair, olive green eyes, and the tiniest hint of stubble on his face. He was just as good looking in person as he was on billboards in Times Square. The hairdryer thirst returned, and Claire lifted the cup of water to her lips. Hey, Connor, over here, Massey shouted. Then she and Alicia ducked behind the door. Connor turned and locked eyes with Claire. The water went down the wrong pipe, and Claire started choking. The actor yanked the unlit cigarette from his mouth and threw it on the studio floor and crushed it with the heel of his black motorcycle boot. Connor's coming! He rushed inside the pantry and began slapping Claire on the back. She wanted to tell him to stop, but her mouth was full. The next slap did the trick, and a stream of warm water shot out of and soaked Claire's pink t-shirt. Massey and Alicia cackled like witches. Connor lifted his leather jacket and dabbed Claire's cheeks. The Mercedes keychain that hung from the belt loop of his customized CF jeans swayed. Claire wanted to push him away from her and run back to the Escalade. Once he told Rupert what an unglamorous dork she was, Claire would have no shot at the role. Are those tears, baby girl? No, she lied. It's from the coughing. He jabbed some more. Poor thing. Connor's face was perfect. It hurt to look straight at it. Claire had to lower her eyes as if staring into direct sunlight. Oh, before I read the next section, because I do need to read these. Let's dissect. First off, he's got like tiny like milk pube mustache going on. And then he refers to himself in the third person. And also on the cigarette that he treats like it's a lit cigarette. He doesn't smoke them. He just likes the aesthetic of it. And lastly, baby girl.
Are you lost, baby girl?
I only needed that. From the moment I read this, I thought, are you lost, baby girl? I lost my mind was lost. What? Eccentric characters. Eccentric characters are so great for this kind of shit. Needs more camp. These have the possibility of being camp. If you just let it, Lacey. If you just let the girls be camp. If you just let them be camp. Oh my god, are you okay, sweetie? Massey put her arm around Claire. Come here, you. Alicia held out her arms. I'm Massey, by the way. She held out her hand. And you are? I'm Connie Foley. He shook her finger. The star of this film. Oh, really? Alicia batted her eyes. We're auditioning. Oh, you're the nobodies Rupert is testing. He backed away from Claire. I'll be writing lines with you in an hour. I wanted my stand-in to do it, but you know, Rupert, everything has to be so frickin' real. That's so Rupe. What about the scene? What's the scene about? Alicia asked, batting her long lashes. I think it's the part where Molly tells Brad she's in love with him. Great, Claire groaned. How could she possibly face Connor again after spitting in his face? Oh, wonderful. I see you've met. Emma handed a script to each girl. I marked the pages you need to learn. Rupert will be ready for you in 30 minutes. I'll be by to pick you up then. Thanks. The girls all replied at slightly different times. Connor better cruise. He knocked the hollow wall, then turned on the heel of his motorcycle boots. Later, baby girls. See ya. Bye-bye. Alicia called after him. Oh my god. They grabbed each other's wrists once he was gone. Did you really not know who I was? Connor poked his head back in the room. Or were you just playing? Massey and Alicia immediately let go of each other. We were just playing. Massey winked. Connor bit his bottom lip and shook his head. Oh, you are a devilish one. Oh, I'm gonna use the other finger. All I can think about is winter vanity, just like, She's just like, I love them so much. Yes, Massey batted her eyelashes. You better. And on me too, Alicia stood straight up, revealing her ample cleavage. I'm devilish too. Yes, you are. Connor popped another unlit cigarette in his mouth and turned down the hall. Once they were certain he was gone, Massey and Alicia locked eyes and flapped their wrists, and silence screamed for a good 5 minutes, while Claire fanned her shirt with a Dunkin' Donuts box. Sometimes, some things are just for me. They are made specifically to make me happy. And that's what that was. 'Cause what the fuck is Connor? I love him as a character. He is my Justin Bieber, Timothy Chalamet, like, mix-up mashup boy. He's just so dumb. So sweet. You can't swipe the table. What is this? What is this character? Unlit cigarettes. Why? And so now Claire has made an even bigger fool of herself, and she's really feeling silly for being there. So we're back inside of Massey's POV. They're inside of Rupert's office waiting to run their lines. Massey has learned her lines. She knows the words of her lines, but she really has not been paying attention to what they're asking of her. And she's so bored, and she doesn't want the other girls to be working anymore. She wants to talk and chat. You know, ADHD queen. She's incensed that they won't just lift their head ups and talk to her. She's tried to get them to play a game of Would You Rather, but they're just not into it. Rupert comes in and he tells them a little more context around the lines that they're reading. Massey goes first. Massey does not know how to follow directions. Hold up. Actually, before that, Connor comes back in and we have something that sets up a little something for later. Good then. He flipped through the script. While you're acting, bear in mind that Massey is... What is this accent? I'm bad at accents. I have to stop. It's really hard because the words are written in Cockney. It's giving...
Seems Ellis is in a bit of a jelly top.
Huh?
But we progress. While you're acting, be in mind that Molly is desperately lonely and hasn't the foggiest idea on how to be cool. Her clothes are pitiful and her hair looks like it was cut with a spoon. You know what I mean? The only thing that this insecure girl knows for sure is that she's mad for a 9th grader named Brad Douglas. In this scene, Molly tells Brad how she feels, hoping once he knows he'll fall in love with her. Sound good then? The girls nodded. Massey goes first. They fly in the Connor. Let me read another line of Connor. Connor at your service. The spiky-haired actor shuffled in, holding a brown paper bag in one hand and a torn page from the script in the other. Those are some hot pants you got there, baby girl. Connor rubbed the back of his hand along the edge of Massey's thigh. Why, thank you. Massey fought the sudden urge to pee. What in the water sports is happening here? Help. Help. Release me. Release me, devil. Release me, please. Just grab my hand. Grab my black baby hand. No, I mean they're hot. Connor took a swig from his paper bag. It's almost 80 degrees. Alicia and Claire giggled nervously. Whatevs is all Massey could think to say. You look like you'd use a drink. Massey caught a glimpse of the brown glass bottle inside. No thanks. I never do beer before an audition. Connor pinched her pant leg. Relax, Velvet. It's root beer. I know that too, Rudy. He wasn't the only one who could come up with a nickname. Massey grabbed the bag out of his hands and pressed her lips in the exact spots where his been. Thanks, Rudy. Welcome, Velvet. Connor suddenly turned his back to Massey and started twisting an invisible knob. What are you doing? She rolled her eyes. Cut! Rupert stuck 2 sticks of gum in his mouth. The line is, Brad, can I talk? Brad, can I talk to you for a minute? Oh. Massey blushed. I didn't know we started. That's what action means. Alicia laughed. Thanks, Alicia. Do you know what shut up means? Straight away. And action. Connor fiddled again, and Massey suddenly realized he was opening an imaginary locker. She marched up to him and tapped him on the shoulder. Brad, can I talk to you for a minute? Cut! The line starts with, Brad, not Brad. Sorry, I just thought, made Molly sound too nervous. She's supposed to be nervous. Rupert ran his hands through his thick hair. Less thinking, more acting. Please, action. Connor began fiddling, and Massey made her move. Brad, can I talk to you for a minute? She put her hands on her hips. Depends on who's asking, he said to his locker. My name is Molly. Massey rolled her eyes and folded her hands across her chest. But I was really hoping you already knew that. Why would I know that? Hold up. Why would I know that? Connor looked straight into her eyes. I've never seen you before in my life. Liar! Our moms are best friends. She smacked him again. Cut! Massey smiled. She nailed it. That's why Rupert had stopped her early. So, with that in mind, Alicia goes. Massey, obviously too confident and honestly too delusional and too unself-aware to be nervous. That's truly her gift. She just has no shame. She goes. Alicia delivers her lines too sexily, but at least she understands the words that she's supposed to say and understands basic show shots. Essentially, Rupert tells Alicia that she's too beautiful and that no one would ever believe that she's an unconfident girl. Alicia takes it as a compliment and sits back down. And now it's time for Claire. The instant Claire stood up, Massey and Alicia burst out laughing. Her shirt had a big water stain right above her Hershey Kiss-shaped boobs. Very interesting. Rupert unwrapped a stick of gum as he stared at Claire. It appears as though we have a method actor in our midst. Massey assumed method was Hollywood speak for mentally challenged. I admired the way you butchered your hair and stained your clothes for the audition. Rupert folded the gum like an accordion and pushed it into his mouth. Very clever. Yeah, you definitely look the part, Connor chuckled. Massey and Alicia burst out laughing, then buried their faces in each other's shoulders. Claire lowered her head and shut her eyes, just like she was praying. Action! Brad? Can I talk to you for a minute? Hold up, he doesn't turn around at first. Depends on who's asking. My name's Molly, but I was really hoping you already knew that. Why would I know that? I've never seen you before in my life. Claire shook her head frantically, like there was a bee buzzing in her ear. Liar! She twirled a loose thread from her shorts around her finger until it turned purple. Then she ripped it off. Our mothers are best friends. She was still looking down. Oh, I can't read. I know. It's embarrassing, isn't it? Connor tucked an imaginary binder under his arm and walked away. Wait! Claire softly beckoned. Wait! She gazed into the distance and wiped a lone tear off her pale cheek. Massey's inside jumped for joy. There was no way that Rupert would want a real loser in his movie. How would that look? Well, dun 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 dun, dun. He loves Claire's performance. Claire obviously is getting the role. It is, obviously, duh. We read the back of the book, but I didn't read the back of the book. But I don't know. I had a feeling it was going to be Claire. It would be Claire. Or maybe some new girl that they introduced because we only have 3 characters that were following this blasted book. Justice for Dylan and Kirsten. Mostly justice for Kirsten because I don't particularly care for Dylan as a character, but maybe I care more for her if she actually got to be a character instead of walking fart jokes. Massey begins her descent into a spiral. All of a sudden, Massey is having people come up to Claire and talk to Claire and get Claire ready. It's Claire, 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 Claire. And Massey is losing her mind. Massey watched Claire go, knowing for the first time in her life what it felt like to be the loser. Yeet! Yeah, Busty. It is a bad time to be you, but a great time to be Claire. So, Massey's in the middle of an anxiety-fueled, anger-fueled, manic moment. She's just gotta leave. Her and Alicia are running to leave, but then they realize they've never been anywhere without either of their drivers, and they don't know how to navigate or ask for directions to get back to the hotel. And they're trapped on the lot because they're currently actually a mile or so away from the entrance to the lot. And they are in the middle of a parking lot in the mid-afternoon in the blazing sun. How are they supposed to get back home? Well, that's when Claire and her new people, Stella, come and gather them to get her back to Claire's trailer. Page 141. Minutes later, they were back in Lakeview. Only this time, the massive set no longer seemed like an inevitable part of Massey's future. It had stopped being the place she would describe when interviewed about her first break. It certainly didn't feel like her West Coast home away from home. They meet up, they go back to wardrobe, they measure her and stuff with some more dress sizes and a quote. I want to read on 142. The 10 long rows of clothing racks stretched from the entrance to the curtained dressing area in the back, and the index cards made it very clear which designers were among them. At a glance, Massey saw DKNY, Ralph, Calvin, Dior, Theory, Juicy, Lamb, CNC, Diesel, Citizen, Seven, True Religion, Ella Moss, and Joey. The footwear was displayed in neat rows along the back wall and seemed to include every possible sneaker, sandal, boot, flip-flop, and Ugg ever made. We meet Anya, AHANNA, and she's super nice. She's got a cute belly ring, and I love her. Her belly ring is so cute that it makes Massey put belly rings on the summer jewelry list. Massey is Claire's getting her comps from designer brands, and Stella asks her some onboarding question. Alicia and Massey make jokes and pick at her, and then they're talking about New York because they know it will make Claire upset because she always misses Cam. God. They know that Claire won't be back for 3 weeks. Massey said louder than she needed to. After all, Alicia was sitting right next to her. Yeah? How excited are you to be going back to New York? I can't wait. Alicia practically shouted, I miss Josh! And I miss Darrington! Massey sighed. Claire was staring at her bare feet, but Massey could tell by her vigorous nail biting that she was listening to every word they were saying. I know, Massey continued. And when we get back, Let's ask the boys if they want to go to a movie. How much fun would that be? I heart that. We could do it on Saturday, she suggested. Friday night during my sleepover. We'll pick our outfits and come up with a list of discussion topics. You know, so we won't have any weird silent moments. Heart. We'll call them as soon as we get back to the hotel. Who knows when you'll be back, Massey looked at her. Massey peeked at Claire at the corner of her eyes, and she was scraping her chapped lips with her teeth, tugging on her short bangs. Maybe you could do it again when I get back. Who knows when you'll be back? Massey looked at her. You'll probably end up moving here. No, I won't. Claire waved the ridiculous notion away. The shoot is only 3 weeks long. You never know, Massey shrugged. There's always parts for movies for losers. And after Dial L, everyone will think you are as... Oh my god. Everyone will think of you as a loser, which means ton of work. You may never have time to go back to Westchester again. Claire knit her brows and turned away. Her tears were fastening their seatbelts and preparing for takeoff. Stella tossed her Palm Pilot in the Fendi spy bag as if it had personally offended her. Then she turned her face Massey. Did you say Claire was your best friend? Yep. She stole a quick glance at the boxes of comps by the door. Why? Well, I think you might have upset her. Alicia giggled. Please. Massey brushed off her comment with a dismissive wave, even though she knew Stella was right. But what choice did she have? The girls at OCD were making new friends. Rupert had chosen Claire, and Darrington hadn't left a single message since she'd gotten to Los Angeles. Life was going on without Massey Block, and the pain that came with that realization was too much and too agonizing to feel alone. It had to be shared. Terrorist. I found it really easy to dislike Massey in this book. In a couple of the latest books, I've almost been yeah, I'm a Massey. And yeah, I am still a Massey. But I'd be a Massey if I had the amount of unbridled confidence I now have as an adult. If I had that as a 12-year-old girl, I would be a much worse person to be around. Massey is actively terrible now. And I kind of get it, in this book, I get it. That line that she just has to share in her misery. She just has to pull people down. She's like a textbook bully, and I can't hate it. Yes, I can, but in a different way. So now that Claire has been onboarded, it's time to start up. Massey's saying that Claire is dead to her, and Claire gets up early to go off and do her work. The moms come in to surprise the girls with a call from Dylan and Kirsten. Dylan and Kirsten inform them that Mary Lee wants them to do some on-set correspondence with the show. Cute kids. Think Ellen with those super bass girls that you would have do stuff. Ella and something. They were cute. They couldn't talk. They're now adult women. But Alicia and Massey get to stay in LA while Claire works. They're going to be doing some camera stuff for Mary Lee on the daily grind. And Claire doesn't like the fact that they keep referring to her as a nobody. And Massey's like, well, would you rather them call you a loser? And it's God, I'd send these bitches back to New York. Absolutely not. Massey requests that Kirsten gets, gets Bean shipped out to LA so that she can be in Hollywood for the next 3 weeks with them. So we get some more dressage. My personal favorite. A beauty buffet of hair and makeup products by Mac NARS, Chanel, Benefit, Hard Candy, Tarte, Dior, Desert, Paul Mitchell surround Massey and Alicia. They were seated in the director's chair facing a mirror was lit by round bulbs, getting their faces put on for their first appearance for the daily grind. They are given the lowdown on how they are going to start. It's almost time, 10 minutes out from doing their first show, quotes starting on. All of a sudden, the realization of what she was about to do hit her hard. In less than 10 minutes, Massey would be addressing millions of viewers, whether she was ready to or not. The only direction Marilee had given was to act natural. There was no lines to learn or marks to hit. All they had to do was chat with the stars and show the viewers at home some of the cool behind-the-scenes action. It'd be easy, Marilee promised, just like talking to your friends. Massey reached into the pocket of her new Frankie B jeans and clutched her lucky cell phone. Bean was on her lap. Her best friend was at her side, and a professional was applying her makeup. She was ready for her close-up. Not that she had any choice. This is a very quick one because we go into the next chapter, but it's all essentially the same. Now remember, instructed Hal, the Daily Grind producer assigned to Massey and Alicia. When I count you in, I will say 1, 2, I will say in 3, 2, and then I will point, but I won't say 1. Massey did her best to concentrate, but Hal's overly hairy arms were making it difficult. The least he could have done was worn long sleeves. So you're saying we want hair? You say 1, Massey? Fought her quivering lips. Alicia burst out laughing. Exactly. And when it's time for you to wrap things up, I'll twirl my finger in the air like this. His index finger made several rotations. You'll twirl your fingers through the hair? Alicia smirked. Got it. Now everyone remember, this is live. There are no do-overs. So you'd think with all that tee-hee and joking that Alicia and Massey are going to kill it. Well, they don't. They fail immediately. Alicia can't stop laughing and Massey is like shell-shocked. Like, I'm constantly thinking how I would workshop this to be better. Because the Clique movie, and I haven't watched it in many years at this point, 10, 12 years. The Clique movie is notoriously bad. Like, it just does not capture the magic of these books. And part of the magic of these books is lost in the 2008 housing crisis. Like, we were just not as interested in rich girls being mean as we were in the zeitgeist before then. You know, when all it took to be a rich girl was to have a pony, and now, like, the gorge between the middle class and, like, upper middle class is, like, so far away that it's just, like, we don't want to talk to these girls. But, like, I feel like doing an office-style show where you get these, like, interstitials with the girls talking, and then cutting to the fact that it's just, like, you know, children. Like, you have to just, like, play it up. Like, there's a Comedy Central show, I cannot remember the name of it, but it's these two grown women, reenacting-ish, telling stories, comedy bidding about as their 12-year-old selves. And they are acting alongside other 12-year-olds. Actual 12-year-olds. And that's kind of what I need to be. I need to be, like, the bitchiest, like, bitchy comedy actress in her, like, early to mid-20s, just absolutely riffing, just being like, I'm so gorgeous and glamorous, and then failing, because children are failures. They're not adults. That's why you shouldn't give children jobs. Like, child actors obviously exist, but, like, you know, not every child's a child actor, because not every child is good at acting, and, like, Massey has lived this life where she believes that if she tries hard enough, not even trying hard enough, she does it, she's going to succeed, and that her very existence is going to breed success, and that is ultimately not true, and that is shown in this book. But, like, God, how funny would it be to have her, like, this inner monologue where she's like, I'm fucking killing it, and then it's just, like, her holding the mic, just being like, for, like, the first 45 seconds of a newscast. Like, that's funny to me. That's comedy. Alicia bursts out laughing. She can't get her words out. This is an embarrassing disaster until Claire appears. Claire comes up and is like, hey guys, and Massey snaps out of it because she can't let Claire, you know, be the winner. Claire's like, why don't we go look at my trailer? Hey guys. Claire squeezed between Massey and Alicia. Say something. Hal immediately tossed her a microphone. Claire caught it and smiled confidently. She smelled like fruity hairspray and peppermint chapstick. Hi! I'm Claire Lyons, and I'm standing on the set of Dial L for Loser. My friend Massey and Alicia were just demonstrating what a real loser would act like. Hope you didn't think they were serious. She winks at the camera. Hal gave her an enthusiastic thumbs up. And just like that, Massey re-entered her body. She wasn't about to stand there and watch Claire hijack her chance at fame a second time. Oh my god, Massey rubbed her lips together to make sure they were still glossed before continuing. Give the audience some credit, Claire. They're not stupid. They knew we were joking. She elbowed Alicia in the ribs. Right. Given? Alicia wiped her mascara-stained cheeks. From that moment on, Massey imagined she was speaking to Dylan or Kirsten, and just like that, Mary Lee had suggested the words. Just as Mary Lee suggested, the words came. We're standing in the halls of Lakeview Middle School. They take her over to wardrobe. Massey stepped in front of her, right this way. She guided the audience through the maze of lights and wires. We're now behind the scenes. Her use of air quotes made the producer smile. She was back. And if you're lucky, we'll see Connor Foley or Abby Boyd walking around. I hung out with them the other day, and they promised me an interview later in the week, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Finally, Massey got a thumbs up of her own. How could she have been so nervous? This hosting thing was easy. Dial V for VJ. Well, I'm here with one of the stars now. Alicia grabbed Claire's arm. She will be playing Molly, the loser. You should see her. She's a real natural, isn't she? I wouldn't say that, Claire smiled. Our first day of shooting is today, so we'll see. Massey quickened her pace, hoping Alicia and Claire would fall out of frame, but Claire kept talking and the camera stayed on her. Here we are outside the wardrobe room. She pointed to the denim W and the denim R that Ahmad had tacked to the center of the door. It's time for me to change into my Lakeview Middle School uniform. Claire reached for her handle and noticed the shiny silver box at her feet. What is this? It's a gift. Then it tends to be a setup for Claire to read the note. It's a gift from everyone in the cast and crew. They give her a bedazzled Motorola. Oh my god, Claire shouted once the last bit of wrapping paper were on the ground. Claire gasped. Oh my god. It was her expression. How adorable. Claire held up the gift. It was a special edition Dial L for Loser Motorola. The whole thing was covered in red rhinestones except for the back, which said Claire in tiny pearls, which is so chic. Iconic. The number 5 key and the one with the letter L on it was made of gold. This is amazing. Thank you. The producer keeps giving her the wrap it up signal, but she literally never learns this and she keeps pushing it. Claire ends up wrapping up their showcast for a little bit, and Massey's pissed because Claire must just be getting a big head about this. And, no one likes her on set. Not everyone's bowing down to every want and need. And then being peas on some makeup brushes, which is kind of impressive, thinking that you have to kind of store those up high, but whatever, go off, girl boss, pussy, slay queen. It is just not Massey's day. It never is. So we're back to Claire. It's now the 18th. It's Wednesday. They've been there for 2 days. Claire is leaving set after shooting. She's going through her phone looking to see if she's getting any calls from Cam, but she just isn't. She goes to the answering machine, and she's got a whole bunch of messages from Lainey as Lainey went to the school dance, giving her answers and feedback about the date. She then gets a call from Abby. Abby's like, oh my god, let's go out to dinner, let's go to a club. Claire isn't 12, but Claire decides to do it. She calls her, and Claire's mom is just like, cool, I'm done with work for the day. And mom is like, well, you should probably ask Massey if she wants to go. Claire's like, totally will in a little bit, but, I need to, ask the people I'm going with first. Claire is dressed up in this, like, slutty disco cowboy, space cowboy look. Like, the yeehaw is very strong with this book. Finally, Claire understood why the pretty committee was so obsessed with her outfits. She felt special, dressed as a roller derby rocker, unstoppable, beautiful, and alluring. But that was just on the outside. Underneath the fabulous clothing, she was still an insecure girl, dying to know why her crush wasn't returning her calls. She's wearing these gold gold hot pants shorts, cowboy boots, and like a tight journey shirt. It's very cute. But Claire, Abby, and Anna are always so nice to her. So it's kind of just like, why be worried about it? Connor joins them in the room. Connor speaks in the third person. Connor needs a blazer. So funny to me, just busting in being like, Connor needs a blazer. Everything about Connor turns on my fight or flight in the best way possible. He's really good comic relief character. He works in a way that Todd doesn't for me. I don't know if Todd was ever supposed to work in any real capacity other than being an annoying brother. Think like Lizzie McGuire's brother, don't remember his name, but his character was also annoying. But I kind of get it. I just love that he refers to every woman as baby girl. He's just camp. He's camp. It's camp. It's camp. But is it fashion? It's camp. When everyone's dressed, Connor expounds the last one into the limo rides without underwear. Claire beats feet and gets there just behind Connor, leaving Abby to take off her underwear. She's like, oh my god, how are you gonna do it? Claire could hardly look at Abby. She was so embarrassed. How was she going to get out of this? But without hesitation, Abby reached under her skirt and slid off her black thong and whipped it at a security guard as they drove through the gates. You know, Abby is friendly, and is Connor flirting with her? She can't tell. But, you know, she's not sure, but she's sure she doesn't like it. Claire just wants to treat him like a friend. Connor takes Claire's cell phone so she can't call Massey about meeting up, and they go out and interact with the paparazzi and all that. We're here. Abby popped open her green ring and pulled out a mint. Want one? She offered. No thanks. Claire gripped her stomach when she saw the cluster of paparazzi surrounding the limo. Are they here for you? They're here for us. Abby grabbed her wrist and pulled her out the limo the instant the driver opened their door. Connor squeezed them between them so he looked like the luckiest guy in Hollywood. Then he stuck an unlit cigarette inside the side of his mouth. Dozens of cameras clicked and flashed until Claire was convinced she'd be deaf and blind forever. Over here, someone barked and pointed to the wide lens of his camera. Look here, please, Miss Lyon. Claire had no idea who that was or how they knew her name. Abby, over here. Connor, Claire, Connor, Abby, over here. Claire tried to look at the right place and smile at the right time, but couldn't fight the feeling that she was trapped inside a tornado, spinning and reeling out of control. You thinking what I'm thinking? Abby murmured. Huh? Through her toothy smile. Yeah. Hold on, baby girls. He tightened his grip so that the girls were smashed up against either side of his hard torso. In one swift move, he thrust the girls onto the bench-like back seat of the limo. The paparazzi moved closer to the car, flashing and clicking and calling their names. Incoming! Shouted Connor as he drove on top of the girls. The driver slammed the door behind them and tore down La Cienna Boulevard, ignoring the photographers who were running alongside the car, begging them to stop. So, because they can't go out to dinner, they end up going to In-N-Out. Well, Connor then takes off her shoe and then takes off her sock, yeets it out the window, and then massages her feet. We're strangers. Sorry, no. But whatever. But Claire was too sleepy to answer. She just sat back and enjoyed getting her feet rubbed by the teen dream. For the first time all day, cheating boyfriends and angry girlfriends were the furthest thing from her. So now that she's back at the hotel room, she goes upstairs, and just like that, she's like, Jesus, I'm gonna get my ass kicked by Massey. Claire checks her messages from Lainey. Really don't learn anything. Cam did not go to the date with any other date. I think he went with Todd, so she shouldn't be worried about that. Word is he had to bring a date, so he asked your bro. The coach wouldn't say no because of discrimination. I'd never read this part before. So they're dancing right now to Bubba Sparks. Okay, I gotta go practice. The dance contest is coming up, and I so want that Chili's gift card. Wish me luck. I love her. And Claire slept on the couch to avoid that conflict with Alicia and Massey. And she dips out early the next morning before Massey and Alicia could wake up to avoid the conflict. Alright, it is now March 23rd. It's a Monday again, and we are on our second Monday. So 1 week down. They had a disastrous first show, but now they've been trying to step it up. Massey was going to have Bean as her co-host, but they are pulled to the side by Calgary, Mary Lee's co-host, and tells them that there's talks of them being replaced and fired. So she has to get the dirty goods on the celebrities. Massey's like, well, I only have access to Claire, so what are we gonna do? They are gonna go to the Rite Aid, and they're going to get that dirt. So Claire's getting interviewed by Teen Vogue reporters. She's sitting down for the interview with Abby, early the 22nd. So they're getting interviewed by Teen Vogue. And here we go. Favorite hobby? Photography. Claire. Jewelry design. Favorite junk food? Abby's. Mints. Claire. Gummy bears and worms. Lie, Abby snapped once. What? Claire was taken aback. Red vines. You love red vines. That's why catering always puts them out for you on the table. Point. Claire borrowed Alicia's word. Okay, red vines. She didn't want to argue in front of the reporter. And finally, the initials of your crush. Lynn tapped her pen against her teeth. That's easy. CF. Me too, Abby raised her eyebrows in an how do you like me now sort of way. Is it the same, CF? Is there trouble on set again? No, not here. Abby put her arm around Claire. Okay then. Lynn stood and shook the girls' hands. The full interview will be in the June issue of Teen Vogue, but your favorite things will be posted on our website by the end of the day. They have a conversation about who CF is. Claire is like, well, my CF is Cam Fisher. When asked who her CF is, Abby says, it's Cam Fisher. I'm going to go to Westchester and steal him. In like a half-joking kind of way. But it's also like, Connor. I'm sorry. You have to take a Connor plot circle. Awesome. Connor loves dancing with the stars. Connor stepped into the trailer and handed each girl a coffee. His black hair was spiked to perfection. What are you doing here? Abby snapped. My makeup isn't done. I thought I'd brighten your day. He flipped a Marlboro Red in the air and caught it between his full lips. No smoking in here. Gina flicked a pink packet of Sweet and Low. Relax, baby girl. He slid on a pair of aviators. Connor doesn't like them. He kicked open the trailer door, lifted his sunglasses, and winked at Claire on his way out. Just interrupts the plot. Leaves. Honestly, icon behavior. We stand Timothy Chalamet, Justin Bieber, Magoo. Claire does not take this well because Claire doesn't know how to take a joke. Claire is so head over and heels in love with this boy that she cannot see that she is a given. I will give her credit that Abby did in fact steal her last co-star's boyfriend. So maybe there is an issue. Claire notes that Connor's always flirting with her. I don't think this is successful always, Claire, but like, Claire, this isn't going to be successful. Like, Claire is not going to cheat on her boyfriend situation. She's so in love with Cam, but it's like, even if she was looking at another man, she's just like, he's not as good as my Cam. Her teeth started to chatter. She loved being around Connor and Abby, not because they were famous or cool or beautiful or rich, but because they were full of quirks and made no attempt to hide them. They reminded her of Lainey in that way, and she was grateful to have found them. If she hadn't, she would have been stuck watching the fun instead of taking part in it, like she usually was. Abby sighed. I think he likes you. Who? Connor. Claire blushed. Yeah, right. But she secretly would wonder the same thing. He was always flirting with her and making excuses to be around them. Not that she'd ever do anything about it. She had lost Cam once and was not about to lose him again. So what if Connor was a gorgeous movie star? That shouldn't matter. And it didn't matter, no matter how much her claiming hand said it did. I'm serious. Abby turned to Claire. Gina lifted her eyeliner pen away from Abby's face and waited patiently for her to face forward again. What if he makes a move on you? Like he ever would, Claire blushed. Like he ever would, Abby repeated. Let's just pretend. What would you do? I'd remind him I have a boyfriend. Claire bit into a red vine. Massey threw open the door. So, we don't get any resolution to this because Massey jumps in looking for an interview, but Abby doesn't do interviews without her makeup. And she's rude about it. She's very firm about not doing interviews. They walk in to interview Abby, but Abby doesn't do interviews when she's not wearing makeup. Massey does not respect this as a high-maintenance girl. So when it is time, you'd think that Claire might stand up for Massey and Alicia. She doesn't. She lets them get kicked out of the room, and Massey now sees Claire as a traitor. Massey threatens to tell Cam that Claire has a celebrity crush. This is stupid. It is stupid because it works. Massey is the second has the only 60 seconds to think of what she's going to do for her interview for her next show. They set her up and how's she going to do it? Well, they sneak their way into Claire's dressing room. The security guard lets her in, and they do a little snooping. Page 200. We kind of have a moment where maybe Massey might have some regrets. There's a photo of Cam in a soccer uniform, Jay and Judy in their family room, and several of the pretty committee, some of which have been taken at Lake Placid, but most of which show the girls cracking up at Massey's Friday night sleepovers. In the center of the collage was a shot of Claire with her arm around Massey. They were sitting on the steps of the Block's estate. Claire's striped scarf was wrapped around both of their necks. They were giving each other bunny ears. It had been taken 1 month earlier, yet it seemed like a lifetime ago. Ew! Massey squealed as she pointed at the mess in Claire's bathroom. The camera zoomed in. Let's talk trash. Massey knelt down and rummaged through the mess on the floor. It appears as though our lead actress has been suffering from a bad case of nerves. So, she's got Pepto-Bismol, some like benzo oxy thing for some pimples, Listerine because I guess she's got bad breath, but everyone should be swishing with mouthwash. Oh, I'm getting greasy. Bladder control issues because they had the pack of Depends undergarments, and female baldness as they display a box of ladies' Rogaine, and dandruff as they pick up a bottle of Head and Shoulders, athlete's foot as they have some Desinix, and jock itch with a can of, Cruex. They do that, and then they hear Connor comes in. Connor is looking for Claire, but whatever. Velvet and Rudy have a little back and forth. They get a little interview with Brad, and that's really what saves their butt, even though they fully... the thing is like making the stars look bad, although very Joan Rivers, is not actually a very good way. Sorry, I keep thinking of these. Making the stars mad is not a good way to continue to get interviews with them. It's just not. It's bad juju. Connor has these special CF brand jeans that he gets made every time he's in a movie. He has 19 pairs so far. They finish up their interview, and she's worried about Marilee finding out that, the segment was fake, but, Marilee couldn't possibly be mad because, they got the interview with whatchamacallit. Dylan calls to inform everyone and the fact that they got the interview and how much everyone loves the fact that they got the interview with Connor. Everyone at OCD is loving the girls, and everyone is so excited about Claire, and they even start dressing like her. Dylan is like, aren't we glad that we let her into the pretty committee? Everyone's going to be so jealous that we're BFFs with an actress. Dylan doesn't even like Claire that much, but damn, she knows that at least it's better to be friends with the movie star popular girl than to try and tear her down. Massey's just like, she's not a real star yet, because she hasn't even been in US Weekly. Only real stars are in US Weekly. So while everyone is away, Josh made a comic book called Bleacher Creatures. It's about Dylan and Kirsten hanging out under the bleachers. It's really cute. Alicia's like, am I in it? Why would you be in it? You're in Hollywood, and they're here, obviously. Ugh. And it's specifically about them sneaking into the flip and flop. I feel like Alicia's setting up some shit for the next book, so we'll find out later. Massey asks about the protesters, and we get a breakdown. What about the protesters? The crew disbanded. Apparently Strawberry wants to join Lane's protest. A vote for Lane is a vote for Claire, Dylan added, which is good for us. Massey couldn't believe Claire had become so important to the cause. What about the country club? Massey asked. No word yet, but I'm sure once they hear about your Connor interview, they'll be back with us, Kirsten said. Any news about anyone else? Massey couldn't bring herself to specifically ask about Darrington. She didn't want to sound like Claire, whose obsession with Cam made her look so desperate and needy. Bingo bango. The spring clothes are starting to go on display, and there's lots of bold colors and ruffles this season. Oh, and wedges are going to be big this year. I can remember. Wedges were big. So, it's finally... The time has been set for the board meeting. It's going to be 6 o'clock on April 3rd. Dylan and Kirsten end up spending a lot of time with the soccer boys. They're getting pizza with them tonight. They look up and see Claire, and her eyes are red and her skin is blotchy. Abby has her arms wrapped around her because, whatever. Okay, when asked how she's so easy to cry on set, Claire points at them about how she's like, they're the cause of all my problems. Don't forget Baby Hand's still here. It's like, oh shit, yeah, I'll go ask them if they'll teach me how to make me cry better. He goes over to them and invites them over to his house for a party to go swimming. So Connor's 15 and the girls are 12, almost 13, which is a lot less gross than Alicia being freshly 12 and lusting after a 17-year-old. It's not great, but it's not, the first two books with that lusty nonsense. End of chapter. It's now March 27th. They're only 6 days away from the board meeting. They're sitting down talking about celebrity headlines. Claire, Abby, and Connor's photos made it into Us Weekly, so obviously she's a star now. That they all look like true BFFs in the shot because Abby is in a press war with both Hadley and her ex-boyfriend. Everyone's in a press war. Being seen as the happiest, the healthy, and the bestest is all it takes to win. Claire has a moment of existential dread, wondering if she's the only real person on the planet, because both in LA and New York, everyone is so fake and put on. Abby assures her that they are friends, best friends, and Connor says that Connor is dating both of them, which is a wild thing to say. Connor does something kind of gross, but it's in the service of making Abby jealous, and less to do with his own attraction. Yeah, what's up with that? What? He couldn't help but smiling at himself. Oh, those daily grind girls? Girls were cute. Claire rolled her eyes. For once, couldn't someone think they were ugly? I invited them to my house on Saturday. Connor tilted his head back and took a long swig from the bag. We're having a pool party. Abby's expression hardened. Which one do you like? Yeah, which one? Claire's stomach lurched. No matter what he said, it would be the wrong answer. Connor was hers. Dunno yet. He crushed the tin can in his hands and tossed it in the trash. Depends on which looks hotter in a bathing suit. Ew, Claire heard herself say. Perv. Abby knocked the back of his head. What? Connor widened his olive green eyes. I have a reputation to hold. He grabbed the crumpled US Weekly off the couch and turned on the front of the magazine. Look. Abby grabbed it out of his hands and read the caption. Connor Foley with sexy middle school dropouts, Alice and Moosey. First off, don't call children sexy. Boo, tomato, tomato, tomato. Boo. She turned to Claire. Aren't these your ex-friends? What? She handed her the magazine. When Claire saw the picture of Massey and Alicia cruising in the gelding lot of the golf cart driven by Connor, she almost barfed. How great a shot is that? He punched the air. They look like models. And the fact that they're dropouts, perfect for my bad boy image. Claire's first instinct was to speed dial the girls and tell them that they were being taken advantage of. What if Darrington and Josh saw this? Or Principal Burns? She'd never let them back into OCD. If Claire took the limo, she could be back at the hotel in 20 minutes. They could meet up at a restaurant, talk about how pathetic Connor was, and then come up with a revenge plan. But Claire sat back down on the couch. After all, there was no such thing as bad press, right, Moosey? Oh, next day, it's time for Connor's pool party when Alicia and Massey arrive, spray-tanned fresh, and all new bathing suits. They knock on the door, and a normal-looking woman answers the door. Of course, Massey assumes that she's the help. Her name is Estelle. She lets them in and offers them some drinks, some quinoa, muffin bran, some Powerballs, and she offers them entrance to the back. There are some questions. Some more of this arousal question. I hate it here. They go inside the cabana and they change. They find Connor Foley's jeans. Massey takes them for proof of being around him because his jeans are custom. They test out some stuff and they put on the cutest bathing suits. Alicia has a one-piece bathing suit that covers up the boobs, and Massey puts on this two-piece stringy thong zebra print bathing suit. Massey comes out and finds that Bean is also there. She let Bean out, and she noticed that Bean is struggling with someone or something in the bushes. Connor asks the girls, either one of them, to be the date to the rap party next Friday. What do they have to do to beat his date? They have to win a swimming race. It gets pretty nasty because Massey is nothing if not competitive. Alicia did a stride jump into the water and took off. Her aversion to quickness must have been restricted to land sports because she was hauling butt. Cheater! Massey jumped in. Her zebra-striped top was sliding off and her bottoms were heading due north, but kept going. There was no way Alicia was going to beat her. Left arm, right arm, turn to the side, breathe. Left arm, right arm, turn to the side, breathe. Left arm, right arm, turn to the side, breathe. Left arm, right arm, turn to the side, and breathe. Bean was running along the edge of the pool, cheering her owner on, until finally Massey caught up. As she passed her, she gave Alicia's hair a quick tug, letting her know that she was no longer in the lead. Ouch! Alicia shouted. She grabbed Massey's foot and yanked her back. Let go, cheater! She kicked, doubling back, snapping the thick strap on Alicia's one piece. God, how desperate are you? Alicia jumped on her back and held tight. Get off me, pumpkin eater! I'm not a cheater! You are! Massey tried spinning, hoping to shake Alicia off, but she was sticking to her like waterproof mascara. I slipped. We'll slip on this. Massey grabbed Connor's silver wrist and slammed it down on Alicia's head until she lost her balance and fell off. Someone was clapping. Looks like a tie to me. Connor had 2 CF towels draped over his defined rotator cuffs. Then who gets to go to the rap party? Alicia asked in a high-pitched squeak. Both of you. He smiled. Massey and Alicia glanced at each other and burst out laughing, just like they were BFFs again. That didn't mean Massey had to tell Alicia that she had a giant snot string dangling from her left nostril, did it? You know, they're not glamorous. They're children. Connor sprays himself with SPF 2, which explains so much about the 2000s. And he shrugs off the fact that there are that squirrely sound in the back. Estelle comes in and gives him a drink. Estelle isn't his housekeeper, it's his mom. Estelle informs him that Abby is his girlfriend and that they've been dating for almost 3 weeks, but that they're always bickering, but that she's not supposed to tell anyone the secret. And they never gossip. Another day, another dollar. We're back to a Monday. It's March 30th. Claire has to do a kissing scene with Connor, but she finds it difficult because all she can think about is Cam, especially since the last time she kissed someone that wasn't Cam, she was kissing Josh Hurts. She gets the line down and then aggressively tongue kisses him. Abby's not pleased because, you know, that's her boyfriend. She shides it off by saying that it's like, no, she's a loser and a loser wouldn't kiss that way. Claire took a deep breath and leaned forward and jammed her mouth against his face. His lips didn't move at first, but once he realized she was going for it, he gripped the sides of her face and forced his tongue down her mouth. Her cheeks burned. Could Connor tell that she was a tongue virgin? Could Connor tell she was a tongue virgin? She did her best to follow his lead, but before long, Claire was fully at ease, fully at one with Connor, and fully into it. Somebody stop her before she swallows his jaw! And Abby snapped her fingers frantically. And cut, Rupert shouted. I'll just read it. Mercy, Connor touched his lips. Nice going, baby girl. Oh, don't like that. Brilliant, darling. Rupert rubbed the top of her head. I knew you could do it. Do what? Abby twisted off her mini mint-filled ring and dumped all of them in her mouth. Act like a porn star? Massey and Alicia high-fived her as if they were lifelong friends. She was wonderful, Rupert insisted. She was wonderful, Abby mocked. Molly would never kiss like that. She has no experience. Despite the criticism, Claire welled with pride. Abby thought she was a good kisser. I'm just saying, the actress continued, before Molly got a makeover from my character, she was a major loser. And even though she got a cool haircut and new clothes, she still has loser blood in her. And no loser would be that aggressive. I don't know. If I know anything, it's that the band kids, they fucked. The weird kids, fucked. GameStop employee Brian fucks. Like, the losers in your life, they, it's the funniest thing is the losers in your life that think aren't going anywhere. The weird guy in your office, he's got a girlfriend. The guy at GameStop has several different fuck buddies that call him up for peen on the daily, weekly. His schedule is filled with GameStop and slang and poon. Like, losers are just everyone's just like a normal person. And losers are just people who are less assholey than some people. And they could be slamming puss. Obviously, there are losers who are creeps and dorks and concerning members of society that should be on a watch list. But those are not the losers we are talking about today. We are talking about losers positive, not losers derogatory. Claire keeps, as they're getting set up, Claire keeps hearing Massey and Alicia giggling, so she has Stella, her personal on-set assistant, remove them from the set. They stomp their feet until security and throw a fit until security removes them. She tries to call Cam, and when she finally gets him for once... Cam? Hello? If you can hear me, don't go anywhere. I'll call you right back. She stuffed the rest of her second-to-last gummy and worm in her mouth. I can hear you. Claire's inside warmed from the sound of his voice. Hey, it's me. I have a few minutes, so I thought I'd call and say hey. 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 She knit her eyebrows. Is everything okay? Were you sleeping? No. Oh. She could hear herself breathing. I'm eating a gummy worm right now. Really? I thought your favorite snack food was red vines. Huh? Her heart started thumping. I saw your teen Vogue interview online. Oh, that. Tried to sound casual. Why had she ever listened to Abby? I said gummy bears at first, but then, and you said your crush was CF. Yep. Claire confirmed with pride. Connor Foley? What? No. Her sadness was starting to grow teeth. Obviously, CF is you. Is that why you were just making out with him? What? She looked around the studio. Had he shown up to surprise her? Massey sent a picture to my phone of you making out with him. Claire lowered her head between her knees to keep from passing out. Was the trash talk segment not mean enough? Was this still payback for having her off the set, or leftover jealousy about the movie? Either way, it was beyond evil, even for Massey Block. Cam, that was just a scene from the movie. Then where were the cameras? His voice shook. It was rehearsal! She jumped to her feet. We haven't used the cameras yet. So you're gonna kiss him again? Silence. Cam, you have to believe me, Claire pleaded. There's nothing going on between me and Connor. Correction. There is nothing going on between me and you. Click. Oh my god, hardcore. Absolutely the hardest bar in this book. Oh my god. Iconic. So, it's April 3rd, it's 11 a.m., and the girls are getting snickered at as they pass by. They are going to Connor's trailer because he's their guest. Mass keeps talking about how Claire is dead to her. The girls have finished the last of their daily grind shows. Alicia tries to get Massey to agree with her that if he says that he's only going to take one, that the other will agree not to go. But Massey is selfish, so she's just like ignoring this. Then they turn the corner and they hear Connor screaming at Lenny because Connor has gotten a bad US Weekly cover. Well, Connor's voice is filled with regret. I hired you to make her jealous, not make me look like a loser for hanging out with a booger leaker and a butt picker. Lenny is a paparazzi guy, I guess, or a publicity guy, and he was the one taking pictures in the rustling bushes. Taking pictures of the girls and Connor that he managed to get the most unsexy photo of the girls possible, leading to the headlines that he's hanging out with gross little kids. Get the magazine and they are hurt. Slim pickings for Connor Foley. Massey yeets her lucky phone. That she just got back from Rupert. This is the first time you realize Massey realized she can't just get her revenge. It's not like Westchester. You know, they're not the biggest fish in the bowl. They can't just snap their fingers and get what they want. Alexa, play Ain't It Fun by Paramore. And Abby dumped him for hanging out with the children. Of course, Connor yeets his phone. It's a bad day for cell phones all around. So now it is the wrap party. It's 9 p.m. It's 9 p.m. on April 3rd. Claire is miserable. Her boyfriend broke up with her and now she has no friends. And what is she going to return to Westchester to? The pretty committee against her and everyone asking her about her. Claire has successfully made kids fashionable in her 3 weeks in Hollywood. Claire goes to the dance floor, to maybe dance the feelings away, but finds Abby grinding on some new guy and Connor dancing on some other girl. And so now instead of photo wars, they're doing dance wars. Claire tries to go up to Abby and be like, oh my god, what am I going to do with you? And you're going to be in Australia and I'm going to be in Westchester. And Abby sets very clear boundaries that they are work friends and not actual friends. That they will always have their time together, but they will have no more time together. They will not be communicating after this. Lose my number. Claire feels this. She realizes she's going to cry and decides to lie and be like, I had some bad shrimp, so that her and her mother can head back to the hotel. Judy loses her room key, so she goes back downstairs to get that. So Claire is in the elevator alone. And ends up in the elevator with Alicia and Massey. What's wrong? Massey asked. Are you mad we're on your elevator? Claire whipped her head around. Massey and Alicia were behind her holding styrofoam boxes of leftovers, which inevitably would end up in Bean's bowl. Maybe you could have your assistant kick us off, Alicia sneered. Claire quickly dried her eyes and lifted her chin. You're home early. Massey sounded delighted. Something happened? Claire sobbed harder. They stared at her with no emotion whatsoever until she was calm enough to speak. At least New Yorkers let you know when they don't like you. Here everyone acts like a friend, but they're just using you. I hear ya. Massey actually sounded sympathetic. Like when you kicked us off the set, I knew you didn't like us. Point. Alicia raised her fingers. Exactly. Claire felt her cheeks burn. Like when you planted mustache bleach and athlete's foot cream in my trash, then showed it on TV. I knew you didn't like me then. And when you didn't call me back about dinner, Massey sneered, I knew you didn't like me. Claire pushed that night out of her head. How could she ever have believed Connor and Abby would be her BFFs? And when you were too busy laughing with Abby to give us an interview, I knew you didn't like me. Alicia joined in. And the mention of Abby made Claire's stomach lurch. And when you sent Cam a picture of me making out with Connor? Ding! The elevator stopped and the doors opened. Massey and Alicia pushed past her and stormed down the hall. For some reason, the sight of Alicia in strappy high heels, struggling to keep up with Massey, made Claire giggle. Then the giggle turned into a laugh, and her laugh became a full-blown hysteria. Her entire face was leaking snot and tears, but none of that mattered. In fact, nothing mattered. And with nothing left, there was nothing left to lose. She was finally free. Massey turned around. What's so funny? Claire, still laughing, grabbed a handful of blue foil-wrapped chocolates off the maid's cart and whipped them at the girls. Ouch! Alicia held her hand in front of her face. Stop! Claire, what are you doing? She grabbed another handful of chocolates and whipped them down the hall. Stop it! Seriously. Alicia held her oversized Fendi in front of her face, or you'll regret it. What are you gonna do? Ignore me? Call me a loser? Make fun of my clothes? Embarrass me on TV? Turn my boyfriend against me? The girls were silent. Besides, she unleashed another handful of chocolates. When everyone sees those pictures, you'll be begging for my friendship. Point! Alicia glanced at Massey. Point, Massey said, and she bent down and picked up a chocolate and pelted it at Claire. It was a direct hit to her eyebrows. Ouch! As the lump above her left eyebrow grew bigger, the holes in Claire's heart got smaller, and suddenly everything stopped leaking. They have that light little chocolate fight, and everything is forgiven. It's very reminiscent of Alicia and Massey's big fight at the end of Revenge of the Wannabes, when they're beating each other up, and then they realize, no, we're still friends. We're still friends. So a couple of hours later, it is now the 4th, because it was 10 o'clock at night, and now it's after midnight, and the girls are separating who gets Claire's comp boxes. Claire's gonna get some of it, but not all of it. Claire whipped them on top of a pile marked Kirsten, feminine, sporty. The girls had gone through all 7 comp boxes, dividing the clothes as they saw fit. Claire's casual, comfy pile. Designers include C&C, Velvet, Juicy Couture, and Splendid. Massey's trendy chic pile included Elamos, BCBG, DKNY, Lauren Moffat. Alicia's flirty classic pile included Theory, Yaya, Charlotte Ronson, Marc Jacobs. Ralph Lauren withdrew his comps because Claire refused to wear him exclusively while in LA. It hurt Alicia more than it hurt Ralph. Kirsten's feminine sporty pile designers include Chip and Pepper, Joey, Diesel, Vince. Dylan's loud and proud pile included Lamb, Miss 60, Betsy Johnson, Alice plus Olivia. Lane's reject pile includes a handbag shaped like a cell phone, polka dot espadrilles, a gum made of gum wrappers, and a J-Lo by Jennifer Lopez t-shirt. You know what? I have to respect Lacey Harrelson for trashing J-Lo, because fuck J-Lo. So, they're getting all this set up when Alicia's computer dings. It's an email. It's from Kirsten. Massey accuses Kirsten and Dylan of not talking to them because they were kissing Josh and Darrington. They literally have no setup for this, but whatever. It's just Massey being jealous and directing her rage at something. It's quite toxic. To assuage this, they're essentially like, no, we haven't been talking to you because we actually have a surprise party that we're setting up for you when you come back. And that's why we haven't talked to you. But Claire's like, is Cam gonna be there? And Claire, they're like, ooh, we're gonna make sure we can try, but Claire's like, you gotta fix this, Massey. You gotta fix this. The photos of Massey and Alicia on Us Weekly, Massey feels pretty much like the girls are back on top in the pretty committee, that even bad publicity is good in this circumstance. Massey has a way to get her revenge on Connor as Massey finds his CF jeans that she had. Claire has Todd's Hogwarts underwear that she found, which she puts inside of it, and then they ship it in the box to the tabloid guy that they were talking to as a gift from Connor. I stole them, Massey chimed in. Before Alicia could take all the credit, she was waving the jeans in the air like a victory flag, and when something fell on her head. Everyone burst into hysterics. Massey grabbed the object and held it in front of her face. Ew! It's his Hugo Boss underwear. She threw them at Alicia, who tossed them at Claire. What is with all the random underwear on this trip? Claire burst out laughing. Huh? Massey said, first there was the pair of Harry Potter briefs I found in my brother's hockey bag. Then there's this pair that Abby threw out the... Wait! A familiar prickle of heat spread across Massey's palm. She was on the verge of a devious scheme. What does that clock say? 12:35, Claire answered. Massey shook her head, then half smiled at Alicia, hoping she'd catch on. What does the clock say? She tried again. 12:35 in the morning? No! It's payback time. Yup. Claire, get the Harry Potters. Kristen, Google the photographer who took the photos. I think his name was Lenny. I need a phone number or an address. Alicia, get me the concierge desk. Alicia gets concierge. We have a package that needs to be picked up and held for a guy named Lenny. He'll be by to get it in the morning. Done. Alicia relayed the message. Got it, Kirsten announced. His name is Richard Leonard Richard. He works at US Weekly. Get me his voicemail, Massey insisted. I did already. Massey put her razor on speakerphone and dialed Leonard's number. While it rang, Claire gave Massey Todd's underwear. After 5 rings, the photographer's voicemail picked up. Massey took a deep breath and lifted the phone to her mouth. Hey, Lenny, it's Abby Boyd. She snapped into the phone. Claire gasped. Shh. My ex-boyfriend, Connor Foley, left his jeans and Harry Potter underwear in my hotel room. They'll be at the front desk of the Le Bois Brocade Hotel waiting for you. He dumped me for the adorable reporter on the Daily Grind. Her name is Massey Block. That's Massieblock. And FYI, she won't give him the time of day. We love teenage, mutiny. We love violence. We love it when the girls and gays do crimes. Be gay, do crimes. So now it's time for the actual talk of the board meeting. It was 6 p.m. that night, East Coast time, and Kirsten wrote a paper for Mr. Rodriguez to read, Mr. Riviera. The paper was so good that Dylan could barely understand any of it. It's called The Meaning of Life is to Get a Life. It's my philosophy on why we should be given a second chance. Kirsten signed everyone's name so that we could all get back into school. There are a few caveats involving everyone doing a team activity or sport, and they can't spend every day after school shopping, but yay for Kirsten for doing all the hard work off camera. I would have loved to hear more about Kirsten and Dylan's time, but whatever. Claire spends the flight back from LA arranging her photos. Even though she knows that Abby wasn't truly her best friend forever, she still feels a little nostalgic for her time there with Abby. She really liked LA, and Megan, thinks that LA is probably the final resting place for Claire as far as the series ends up in LA. Claire has the opportunity to be a successful actress. So the girls are now pretending to not know that they have a surprise party waiting for them. They go off to the old horse barn where the party is happening. Todd gives Claire a C note that says meet me out back. And she do. They meet up. He tells her that Massey left him 3 voicemails, so he knew that, things must have been squirrely. Claire tongue kisses him for the first time and is really, feeling like an adult. That's when Claire gets a call from a fancy man telling her that she could have a career and that he wants to, represent her. And, she could have a career out in LA. He wants to move her across the country to California. Whew. Some Hollywood agent guy, Claire said, very slowly. He wants me to move to California, she blinked, and become an actress. You're not going to do it, are you? You just got back at OCD. Claire rubbed her thumb over the red rhinestones on her phone and imagined her life in California. Sunshine, sand, and palm trees, just like Florida. She would be the center of attention and the girl everyone wanted to hang out with. But the best part would be the acting. She'd get paid to do something she loved. Then she thought of Massey's Friday night slumber parties and Lainey and OCD and her family. She lifted her eyes and looked at Cam. How could you leave all this? He waved his arms around the Blockstone mansion, their pool, and tennis court. How could I not? She wanted to say, but instead she grabbed his hand and led him back to the party, trying her hardest to follow Rupert's advice and live in the moment. So it's over. My last thoughts, my final thoughts for the book, as I've been trying to unpack them, is like what I said at the beginning. This book is essentially an iCarly special. It's essentially Drake and Josh, Alicia and Massey, take, LA County. They take Orange County. We are at the halfway point. And I just showed you what the last book is because I do know what the last book was, just because death from above. Just because I bought these books. I don't fully remember the order, but I did know that that one was the last. So yeah, yeah, I feel like I'm gonna be reading the summer collection books in like October, and that's gonna be totally dissonant for me. So hopefully I can pick up the pace a little bit on these books. But we are at the halfway point. We're almost done. If this is the first one of my Clique book series videos that you might be watching, you might think, and I would say, why don't you check out my Year of the Clique playlist? And if you're like wanting something a little shorter, that's like my humor, but it's still a series that you could binge, but it's a little less time, might I suggest my Massey Cinematic Universe playlist, where somehow my want to cover like 3 videos while Bachelor season was waiting turned into a several video saga of me rewatching watching for the first time all the webisodes on myscenes.com, as well as a good amount of me just like talking about doll history, because I love Barbie dolls and I think girly shit from the 2000s is fun and fascinating and lighthearted. Yeah, you can check those out. You can subscribe to anywhere my face is. Don't think too hard about it. I have an end card. Alright, there's a lot riding on this. Next month's book, July's book, is It's Not Easy Being Mean. I love the way my nails look with this, so we can get some shots of my hand with the book. It's homophobic to comment on the fact that I'm missing a nail.